Okay, hi guys. Pressman here. So, good day, good evening, good morning, whenever you watch this video. So, yeah. So in this video, we will together learn how to design a light and dark mode dashboard in Figma from the ground up. And to save time, I have designed the dashboard like beforehand. So what we'll be doing is to recreate based on some content I generated with GPT. So yeah. So we'll just jump right to it real quick. So in case you know who I am, my name is Nomso Pressman. Works as well. I'm a digital product and user experience designer focusing on Web3, AI, and game experiences. And yeah, so I was supposed to have put this out like a long time ago, but life happened. I've been really sick. I'm still recuperating. Like my voice doesn't sound the best, and I sort of like have a cold. So in case I sniff in between these videos, permit me. I'm human. And yeah, so I hope to do this under an hour 30 minutes, hopefully. So so yeah, we'll just jump right to it real quick. So yeah, so who is this video for, or how do you follow up with this? So, for starters, we'll design this from scratch. So, I need you to have like an understanding of Figma. Nothing too advanced, but not really going into variants or variables, or or any interactive components. Here in Figma, we'll be designing like really simply, right? So I need you to just know like the basics of Figma, basically, because I'm using a lot of shortcuts, and I'll do what like be saying them, as we journey together on this in this video. So yeah, the basics of Figma is just fine. So just know how to draw frames, interact with the styles you create, and those things. So yeah, pretty much, and together we'll just make progress on this. So yeah. So, for best practice, I what I do is I create my color styles. So since this is like a practice session, I didn't create text styles. So, I just created color styles so that I can easily just switch between colors. And I use one consistent typeface throughout, which is uh, B Vietnam Pro. It's a Google typeface, so it should be available to you to also practice with. So yeah, and yeah, let's talk about styles real quick. So for colors, I have two group of shades I work with when I'm designing for light mode, right? This group is what I call my shades or my background colors, right? So I use this group of shades for my strokes, for my elevation, and for my background and foreground. And this group of shades, on the other hand, is for my texts, right? So most people just have like one a group of 10 shades. So like first five, or like from right to left, first five would be like the darkest, and the last five would be like a lot lighter. So they just like freestyle using one group for like both scenarios. But personally, I'm more of a visuals person, so I like to have like more control over my grades, mostly for light mode design projects. So that's why I have like two groups, as you can see here. So this group and this group. So, but yeah, you could just mix yours. For the dark mode, I just have like one group here. The first five from right to left are the darker versions of the color, which will be for background, foreground, and stroke and elevation. And the first five will be for text, right? So this would be lightest color, and this would be darkest color for text. So yeah, so let's just like get started real quick to save time. So the first thing I'll do here is to draw a frame, right? So Figma works in frames, or is best practice you work with frames in Figma. So there are already existing presets for you. So just hit F on your keyboard for the frame tool, like so, and you toggle to desktop, right? So, and for this exercise, we will be using the 1440 by 1024 pixel frame, which Figma calls desktop. So just click once, and Figma drops one on your screen. So for good practice, we will rename this guy. Let's call this our light mode. dashboard, like so. I didn't spell that well. Dashboard. Yeah. So first things first. What I'll do here is to add a grid, right? A layout grid, pretty much. So, my previous video, this has been my second video on YouTube. My very first video, I sort of like talked about, like I extensively explained how to create, like a comprehensive grid for the traditional web dashboard where you have like the menu on the left hand side, you know, right? So, but for this exercise, we'll be designing with the menu at the top here. A little bit unconventional. This is in use, but this is an idea I wanted to experiment with, just for this video, where I wanted to do something different, frankly. So, the traditional way or the usual dashboard you see is where people have, content on the left hand side. So let me just, so this is the video we created, or we recreated. This was the dashboard, sorry, we recreated on the first video on my YouTube channel. This was last year. So traditionally we have the side menu here on the left, and the content is populated on the right side of the screen, right? But on the other hand, you can always freestyle, and you could have the menu at the top here. So this is a bad idea in case you don't have like a lot of like menu items here. So you could just freestyle and just keep your content at the top, right? So as always, layout grid first. I want to just like put that out of the way, just explain like why I'm going with this idea. We don't have a lot of content, so I'm going with the idea. So I'll just create a layout grid. So you just scroll down to the properties panel on your right side. And by the way, if you have like a different UI, or if your UI isn't looking like mine, this is the latest UI in Figma. So that's why mine is a little bit different, in case yours looks not the same. But the items on the left and the right, which is the layers and the properties panel, remain the same nonetheless. So you could easily just follow through, or you shouldn't have any problems following through, really. So yeah, we go to layout grid. Just click plus, or just click on this particular tab here, and Figma gives you a default layout grid. So we just switch from grid to columns, right? And we'll change the count to 12. We can just leave the color like this. Okay, let's just change this a bit, since I already have like a red grid on the design. So we'll leave the type to stretch, and we'll increase the margin. So margin for layout grids is basically the spacing on the left and on the right side of your screen, of the frame, I beg your pardon. So I want this margin to be 36. I'm working in increment of 4, and I think my gutter can be 20. Yeah, I think 20 is fine. 20 is fine. I might change that later on. I think I used 20 here, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, I use 16 pixel gutter. So let's make this gutter 16 as well. So gutter in Figma basically means the spacing between the frames, each frame like so. So I think I used 32 here, 32. Yeah, 32 and 16. So let's just keep it the same. Just margin 32. Like I said, margin is the spacing on the left, spacing on the left and right side of the frame, while gutter is the space in between the columns, right? So this is a column. Columns are vertical lines, right? So we'll just close that like so. So let me just easily just hide this grid, so you can just look at what I've designed and just easily replicate. So best practice for designing, you start with a feature. So most of the time you don't want to be worried about how things really look on the screen, right? So to easily hide your grids, I use Shift G on my keyboard, right, to just toggle between like your grids real quick. It's a helpful shortcut. So best practice for designing any single thing, frankly. I picked up this tip from the book called Refactoring UI by Adam Wathan. So you probably want to check that out. If you haven't read that book, it's I really cannot overemphasize how important that book is to every designer, especially if you're into products or UI design. You learn a lot from that book. So start with a feature, not a layout, right? And what that means is don't exactly get worried about how things will look like in the grand scheme of things, right? Focus on designing a feature first, right? Don't worry about the layout. When I designed this dashboard, the very first thing I designed was this calendar component here, and frankly, it was a lot wider than this, right? But once you just get it out of your way or out of the way you design it, you can easily begin to resize if you want to, right? So we'll start with this component and just bring everything together over time, right? So let's start with this guy. So since obviously I've designed this before, we want to redesign this guy, right? So if I click on this particular frame here, I turn on the grid, and I think this particular component covers 3 columns, right? Sorry, 4 columns, right? So I could just easily draw a frame for this guy, right? So I'm just toggle on my grid back. So F for my keyboard to draw a frame. So I don't draw like a frame that covers the 4 columns. Let's not worry about the height right now. The width is the important thing, which just replicates this design here, right? So, or this card component rather. So let's talk about like the background real quick. So you notice how like my background here is a little bit darker and the elements on top are lighter. So that's like my style, or that's how like I mostly design dashboards. Most of the time you see the background darker and you have the foreground elements a little bit lighter, right? So on the screen, so yeah, so I'll just use one of the colors I've already created. And mind you, I created my shades from scratch, and I don't want to walk through that process because it can be quite lengthy and time consuming. It's usually a trial and error process until I figure out what I want to do. So I'll just change this background to one of my shades, right? So I'll just use the lightest shade I have here, which is this guy, right? So as you can see, it's a little bit like darker than the previous shade. So I'll just select the frame here and make it a white instead. So you can see there's a very slight difference, not so obvious, but it's there. Yeah, so now to just improve the contrast between these foreground elements and our background, I will add a stroke, right? So I go here and I click on one of the styles. I usually use my 500 for the stroke, and 1 pixel is fine. And let's say maybe we could just add some corner radius to this guy. Let's just say 16 for now. Alright, so that is our card. Okay, I think let me just make it off. 16 looks too curved for the style I'm going for. Alright, so this is our card component. This is our card. So let's now like replicate this content here. So let's start from top to bottom. We have health calendar and we have this CTA daily report. And in case you're wondering how like I got this content I use for the design, like I said in the beginning of the video, I use GPT to like construct or get a brief that I worked with. So yeah, so just I wanted to design an AI powered health dashboard, and ChatGPT just gave me some content to work with, and I just like picked some of them here, like so to just like design really. So yeah, back to our design. So we have health calendar as the text, and we have daily reports, and I'll be switching from Figma to Figma Mirror so you get to really see how your design looks, like on the user's end, because you might just get carried away with how things are looking on Figma, but at the end of the day, remember, it is basically what you design the developers are going to implement, right? Pixel for pixel. So you want to make sure things don't look too big or they don't look too small, right? They look just right, and you want to make sure that every single thing just comes together quite nicely. So to do this, to confirm this or to make sure this happens, I always use Figma Mirror for web and for mobile. For mobile, I use my phone. For web, I use a different tab here. So you could also use the Figma desktop app if you want to. It's still the same thing, but you have to load figma.com/mirror. Just make sure like you are logged in to your Figma account on your browser, and it should populate the actions you are taking on Figma, right? So yeah. So health calendar and daily reports. I'll just like type this right here. Health calendar. This is too big by the way, but let's just type first. Health calendar. right? So I'll just reduce this guy, say I think is 16, like so, right? Then I'll just alt shift and drag to just duplicate on a straight line, and I will make this, I'll switch this to daily reports, right? So let me just say this is going to be a city daily report, like so, right? So I'll just reduce these guys to a 14 pixel for now. Then I want to have like my chevron arrow here. So you can get icons from a plugin called Iconify. Is open source, so you right click and you go to plugins, you say Iconify, or if you haven't used Iconify before, you go to widgets, you click on this icon here and you go to plugins and widgets and you search for Iconify. So it's right here, so I just click on it and it loads, and Figma just pops up a model on my screen depending on how fast my network is. So waiting for that to pop up. Okay, wondering why it's not coming up. So okay, there we go. Alright, so you just search for a chevron. So chevrons are those soft arrows you see like this. This is called a chevron, right? So there's up chevron, down chevron, right chevron, and the likes. So we'll just take one of these guys. If you want to, just pick one from here and just like drag and drop into your design, and just close. So if I click once, like so, I can easily import. I can customize if I want to from the colors for the styles I have on my file, or excuse me, or I directly just press import like this, and Figma just pastes, the plugin just pastes the icon on my file. So yeah, so this is the icon, right? Cool. So but I'll just duplicate this. So this is what we're already using. I'll duplicate. We are seeing pop-up because it is a component I took from the library. So I can just detach that if I want to, by the way, or let's just leave it for now. So I bring the icon here, I select it with the text, I hit Shift A on my keyboard, which is to add an auto layout. Then I could reduce the spacing here to 8 and just maybe change the color of this guy to our orange. So just copy the hex code here and paste. I didn't create styles for my CTA. This is the color I'm using for my CTA, by the way, my primary color. This is my primary color rather. So I didn't create styles for this because I'm not using it more than once. I'm using like a different shade for this guy. So that was just me being lazy, but it's good to create styles every single time. But yeah, just for this case, I didn't create styles for the primary color, just for my color styles that I'm using across my design. So this is just for practice, so like I'm not really adhering to like the rules I usually follow when working on actual projects. So I'll just reduce the spacing here to 4. This is space between, this tab or this area is for the spacing in between two objects, right? Alternatively, you can just drag like so, right? Or you can click once and increase it if you want to. So this is 8 for instance now. So yeah, so I select this two again, I hit Shift A on my screen, on my keyboard rather, for auto layout, and I switch the spacing between these guys to space between. So you could easily just click on drop down and click on auto. With the Figma update, this is called auto. The previous and older versions of Figma, this used to be called space between, right? But auto means automatic. So automatically, what this means is if you resize the frame, the spacing will just keep on following like so, right? Alternatively, if it's a number and you drag across, nothing, the design or the content doesn't like follow the frame. But what this means is these two elements are 90 pixels apart from each other, as you can see here, right? But switching to auto, right, as you can see, just sort of like just goes through. or alternatively you can just double click inside the align properties and it does the same thing, right? Like so. So I'll add a small border, sorry, a small layout grid to this frame so I can easily, just target my distance for the margins here. So I just scroll and click on layout grid again. Then let's say leave it on columns as well. I think count of 4 is fine. The count doesn't really matter. So it's the gutter I'm looking at now. So gutter is 16 pixels. Sorry, margin is 16 pixels, and the gutter can be 12. Doesn't really matter. So yeah. So let's just hide like the parent layout grid so you can easily see this guy. So select these two and just drag across like so, like so. So because I want to have like a stroke under these guys that divides it from the screen. If you look at this guy, see there's a stroke here that divides, that separates this title from the body content here. So what I would do is to basically just add paddings to the top and the bottom, right? So this is for the horizontal padding and this is for the vertical padding. So horizontal padding, once I add let's say 16 pixels, as you can see on the horizontal axis, or if that makes sense, on the same horizontal line, 16 pixel apart is added to both sides of the frame. Same thing with the vertical padding, 16 pixels added to the top of these guys. So maybe I can now add like a stroke to the bottom, like so, by clicking on stroke and clicking on this icon here and switching to bottom and changing it to 500, right? So what I can now do is to just like drag this guy across like so, right, and I align to the top of this particular frame here, and there we've created that title real quick. So obviously we can change this color to one of our grays. We'll go to the second categories of grays, which is this guy, which is this colors here, and we'll just go with like 700 for instance, right? And yeah, we've created this real quick. We've just duplicated what we have here, right? So next is to design let's design the calendar proper. This is more complex, and these are auto layouts, so like it's like resizable and it's responsive. Okay, so first things first, we want to define the number of days on our calendar. So as you can see here, we have Sunday through Saturday, which are 7 days a week. So I think I used 14 for these guys. Yeah, 14 across. So I'll just come here and type T on my keyboard for the type tool and just type SU, right? Sunday, just duplicate 6 times, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I don't know if I counted that well. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, yeah, that's correct. So I just control and drag my mouse and I shift A again and just switch to space between for now. Then let me just resize these guys real quick. So Sunday, Monday, tap to switch to the next text. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, right? So I hit Shift G to view my layout grid, and I just bring this across here like so. Make sure it's like 16 pixels away, and I just drag it like this, right? And I just change the colors here to something like a little bit lighter, say 300 for now, and that is our title, right? So although this title is inside the frame, but we'll get to that shortly. Let's just like recreate what we're seeing here, right? So yeah, so this is the actual calendar, like actual August calendar. So 1st of August was on a Thursday, and Friday, second was on Friday, third on Saturday, and all of those things. So now for consistency, right, there's something I used here. I used a trick So I define the width of each frame here. As you can see, the width is consistent throughout, and this is good because when I'm resizing, I just want everything to be on the same line. So if you're not familiar with how to how to design tables in Figma, I talked about this like extensively in my previous video here on YouTube, where I designed that the orbit dashboard, right? So I'll just talk about this real quick, so like we really understand what I mean. So now the way Figma works is uh, there needs to be some level of consistency for like content like this, right? So as you can see, this text here is just it's just one, and this number here is we have two numbers here, and ideally this frame should be bigger than to be wider than this frame because it has more content, but it's the same because I defined the width to be 25. So all of these are going to stay on the same line, right? And this is what I mean. So let me just do that real quick. So I'll add auto layout for these guys, right? So Shift A, and I'll make this 25 pixels, right? And align the content here to the center. I'll switch this to hug. As you can see, it's sort of like just filling the container here, but I'll make this guy 25 pixels, right? Same with this guy. I should have done that before I duplicated though, but doesn't matter. So Shift A, I'll make the width 25 pixels, and yeah, okay, this is hug. Shift A again, make the width 25 pixels. Control click on the inside and switch from fill container to hug content. This as well, Shift A to make the width 25 pixels as well. Control click and make sure it is unhugged. Switch to 25 pixels as well, and control click on the inside and make sure it is hooked, right? So I'm basically okay. I didn't add an auto layout to this guy, so Shift A to add auto layout. Make the width 25 pixels and control click to the text inside and just switch to hug content. This guy as well, Shift A, make this width 25 pixels, control click on the inside, make sure it is hug content, and the final one here is Saturday. Control no need to control click, just Shift A first, switch to 25 pixels, fixed width, and make sure it is hot content, right? So I'm doing this because I want to define a fixed width for every single item I have here, right? Because they are going to be on the same line. I'll just get into that shortly so it makes sense. But for those who are wondering why I'm adding fixed width, so auto layer properties are three. You have fixed, fill container, and hot content, right? Fixed width, hot content, fill containers. I'll explain what these guys do real quick, but in case you don't really understand how auto layers work, you can easily watch a video. But I won't be. You need to know how to use auto layout to an extent here. We won't really go into complex constraining or resizing. So like you don't really need to know it extensively, but to understand what I'm doing here, you just need to know the basics of auto layer. So I'll just like walk you through that, real quick. We're like 20 minutes in already. Oh my god. So I'm trying to take time to break down every single thing so you easily follow along. Let's don't worry about how long the video takes, right? So yeah, so now this is an item, right? And as you're seeing here, the property is hugged, right? The width, I'm talking about the width. We have the width and you have the height, right? So the width is basically how long or how wide an element is. The height is basically how long the element is, right? So now hug content basically means keep it together, right? And this is basically, as the name implies, it means hug. If I want to hug you, I'm holding you tight, or I'm basically just putting my arms around you. I'm wrapping my arms around you, right? So whenever you see hug content, that's exactly what it means, right? So hugging, you're telling Figma to just wrap an element, right? Just keep it enclosed. That's basically what hug content means. Fill container, on the other hand, basically means you're telling this object to fill the parent container it is currently occupying, right? So this is fill container, right? Let me just add a color to this guy so you really understand, so you really see the difference of what I'm trying to say. So now This is why I added an auto layout, so I can easily just modify this frame if I want to add a color to it, right? So now, by saying fill container, this is currently unhooked by the way. By saying fill container, I'm telling Figma to fill this container. Are you seeing how like the element just goes to the right? That's basically what fill container means, right? So fill up the container. That's basically what it means. Whether it is going to be text or it's going to be a frame on the inside, fill up the parent container housing the elements on the inside, right? But fixed width, I'll just hit Ctrl Z on my keyboard to undo, or Command Z if you're on the Mac. So fixed, on the other hand, basically just means constrain it to this particular size, right? So with the UI 3, this current UI on Figma, for objects that are not fixed, you can't see the pixel size of it unless you hover on the element here, on the width or on the height, right? So fixed basically means keep it fixed. So now the current width of this guy is 18 pixels, right? So what this means, if I click on fixed, right, I'm telling Figma that no matter what, this frame should not exceed 18 pixels. So if I type any other thing, right, it should just go directly under, right? Because the width is not going to change. The height is now what is going to be increasing, and you're telling Figma to hug the content here, which is to hug the height. This might not do justice to the auto layout explanation, but I don't want to go like really deep into it because it might take some time. I would advise you to just watch a video on auto layout. There are a lot of them on YouTube. But if you want me to like really digest or break down auto layout and constraint for you, just drop a comment in the chat so I can just follow up and just make some time out to really explain auto layout to every single beginner out there. But what I'm trying to tell you is like hugging the content as the height basically means the width is fixed 18 pixels, right? So if I increase the content here, it just keep on going down, right? And because of my height is hugged, what that means is Figma is just going to keep keeping it on the same line, to just hug the content, to just wrap it around the frame, right? So that's basically what I mean by hug content and fill container and fixed width or fixed height depending. So the same thing I explained for width also applies to the height as well. But let me just remove this view and just resume the video real quick. Right, so we've designed this guy, right? So what we'll do now is we can basically just add a color to this guy, or basically add a field. That's why we added an auto layout in the first place. So I think I might want to increase this height a bit to like, let's say 20, right? Let's just add a slight background color. Let's just say we'll use 300 for now, right? Very subtle difference, but yeah. So I'll select everything here, hold shift on my keyboard to select multiple, and I will add a field of I think 100, right? And since the height of this guy was 20, so let me just make the height of everything here 20 as well. So yeah, and these elements are aligned to the center. So what this means is the direction for the auto layout. But since since there's only one element on the inside, it doesn't exactly matter. So just keep that quite simple. And once again, like I said, if you really want to understand auto layout, you can easily watch a video here on YouTube, or alternatively you could just drop in the comments if you want me to create an auto layout video, really quick, breaking down from the basic use cases to really advanced use cases of auto layout, right? So just let me know in the chat or in the comments. So yeah, so we've created this real quick, and we've added like a field to this guy. So now the next thing we're going to do now is to duplicate these numbers you see here, right? So you can see I made this 24. Okay, they are hooked all together 24 pixels. We might adjust that later on, but we'll just duplicate these guys and just like keep it consistent throughout. So yeah, so since we made that 24, let's just make it 24. We could just keep it as hooked, I guess. Just select everything here, shift, and switch to hub. and the hog content is currently on 18, right? So but if I want to keep it the exact same way with this guy, right, I'll just make it 24, like so. And the reason why it might not look, I think the reason why this one is currently looking like, the reason why everything here is hogged is probably because of I think I increased, I think the height of these guys are consistent throughout, if I'm not mistaken. This is 24. Okay, I added a padding, right? I added a 3 pixel padding. That's probably why. So instead of we using like a fixed instead of we having a fixed content for these guys, a fixed height, they just add a padding of 3 pixels each. That's what I did for the other design. So let me select everything again, switch to hogged, to just hog it, and just add a 3 pixel horizontal and vertical padding to these guys, right? So yeah, we're there. So now next step is to basically just alt and drag this guy like so. And if you recall, we started everything, the month of August starts on a Thursday, so first is on a Thursday. So let's just change this guy to 1, change this guy to 2, change this guy to 3. Right, so the reason why we have a fixed width for this height is because I want it to be on the same line as this other guy here, right? And this is good because if this were hogged, right, you see that the width of this guy is 24, the width of this guy is 25, and it's going to sort of like distort the arrangement of our table here. So that's why like I decided to have a fixed width for these guys, right? So yeah, so let me just cross check that, 25 and 25. Okay, so I can probably just reduce the prominency of this colors here, just probably like make it 200 for now, and for the actual text I will make them 500, right? So I'll obviously just clear these ones later on, and I'll show you how to like just hide this content, because like I said, we are starting from the very first day of the month is in August. The first day of August is on a Thursday, right? So yeah, so the title is going to stay bold, so semi-bold rather, so we could just easily change these guys to medium. So I'm control clicking and holding shift to select multiple items and just switch this guy to medium, right? So yeah, so just duplicate, I think I have 5 rows. We'll work on the spacing later. I think 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 5. So change this to 4, tap to switch to the next one, 5, 6, 7, 8, this is 9, this is 10, this is 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 20, shift tab to go back, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31. Now you notice how like this particular item now is just like it just goes directly under, because we have a fixed width of 18 for this particular content, right? So I think I made a mistake. Okay, see how these guys are not aligned to the center because they have a fixed width, right? So they are supposed to be hogged, remember? And so when you hog them, they'll be at the center because we've decided to align contents to the center here. Like I said, the direction of the auto layout doesn't really matter right now because it's just one element on the inside. So I'll control click on this guy and switch to hog, switch to hog, so it is at the center, switch to hog as well, so it just comes down like so. Alright, so we have our you know, we have our calendar. Okay, so I'll just select these guys, 1, 2, 3, each of them, and add another auto layout to them. I don't know if I'm satisfied with the 16 spacing here. Let me leave that for now. Then I'll add a small padding on the inside to these guys. 12, 12. I think I use 8 here. I think shift control. Okay, 12, 12 as well. Then I'll add a small color on the inside, just a small like shade for the foreground. I think 550 is okay, right? And now what I'll do is I want to hide these other guys. So to easily hide them, instead of removing them, if we remove them from our auto layout, you can see that the rest will just like follow along and just occupy the space. So all we can do is just to hide them by making them the same color with our foreground, right? So go to selection and just switch to 100, so like it just blends with the background. Switch to 100, switch to 100, no, not the gray, the other shades, and switch to 100 as well. Right, so we successfully hit this guy, except for the background color apparently. So, oh sorry, this is 50, not 100 rather. So I'll just select this group and switch this to 50, switch everything to 50 really, because we're trying to hide, oh sorry, not everything, we're trying to hide just these 3. Okay, trying to hide just these 3. So we switch to 50, switch to 50. Alright, so yeah, there we go. So we're looking close to this guy. So the color, every single item here does not have a background color. They do have, right? But the reason why I added the background color was just to explain to us like the whole idea of, the whole idea of the auto layer property, just to give us like an idea of how it works, right? But we'll just go back to hiding every foreground color on each date. So I think this is the lighter one. I'll just switch to this and make it 50, switch to 300 and also make it 50, right? So boom. So the only one we're having active here is the date. That is, sorry, the day that is active. That is the particular day, or what day in the week, or what day that, oh my god, I don't even know what to say anymore. But the active item here is going to be the day, like the day that is active on the calendar. So 28 was what I used here, right? Let's just pick a random date. Let's say we pick 10, right? 10 for Messi, and we add, and our field is this, right? So since I didn't create a style for this guy, I can just easily just hold I on my keyboard for the eyedropper tool or the pick color tool. Some softwares call it eyedropper, and just select this shade here and paste, right? So now we have this frame filling this color, and we'll click on the color inside and just switch it to our white style, right? And maybe add a small corner radius of say 4 pixels to this guy, and this is our active date, right? And what we can do is we can just lighten up this title a little bit more. Let's just change everything here to 50 to 50, right? So we don't see like the border, sorry, the foreground, and just make this a little bit lighter, like so. So now if I control click and I go to Figma Mirror, you can see how our calendar looks like, on Figma Mirror, right? So for things like the smallest size, I generally like go with for items. But sometimes you can try to make like these guys maybe a little bit bigger. That's why I think initially I used 16. Like I said before, I didn't create styles for this, so but yeah, 16 also works. So you can see how bigger 16 is. You can also like come here and increase the text of this guy, and also call it 16, right? And shift enter to go back to the container, and basically just hawk the content, right? And if we want, we could just increase this as well to maybe a 20, but might just be a little bit too big, sure. So that's why like I prefer using 14, because most users are interacting with their mouse, so I don't think it really matters. Like the size shouldn't be too big, so the point of interaction is the mouse. If it's the mouse cursor, rather, if it's like for web, or if it's for mobile, sorry, it's going to be like a different ball game. So I'll just undo. Yeah. So if I want, I can add like a small stroke here as well. To like this guy, just make it like 500, right? Then maybe just add a corner radius. I think 12 should be fine. I think 12 is similar. Let's say 8, right? And yeah, basically just created this guy now. So now let's talk a little bit about constraints. I feel like this thing here is like everything here is too close to each other, so I might just increase it a bit. I think I used 12 pixels throughout here. Okay, I used 20, so I think, and this one is currently on 60 if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, so let's just make this space between, let's make the spacing between them 20, right, for more room. So obviously this is an auto layout, so like this container is not responding to how I'm increasing this guy, but I'll make it an auto layout like really soon. So let me just like adjust the height of this frame first, right? So yeah, so the spacing here is 16, spacing here is also 16, so I can just like use my keyboard to bring this closer, like just my arrow keys down, make it also 16. I'm holding alt to see the space difference between basically just look at the spacing between every single thing, the relationship. Just hold alt on your keyboard to see the spacing, and just move your mouse cursor along to just like hover and just like see the space difference. So let me pause the video for a second. I have to take care of something right now. Okay, alright, I'm back now. So yeah, I was talking about like how you can just like easily use alt to like see spacing between like spacing, the relationship between like different edges, or basically just seeing the spacing where an element lies. So if I control click to go inside this guy, I can see the spacing around wherever I hover across, right? You can see here this is 12 pixels across, and these guys are on each line, on a line, and they're 20 pixels apart, right? So since this is an auto layout, they can easily resize because each item here is on few container, right? So yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about constraint. So constraint is a Figma property for you to like define the positioning of some object and how they respond to resizing. So constraints work with resizing, so you might hear constraints and resizing, right? So now I want this element, since this is not an auto layout, I want this card. Let me just group this and call this calendar dates, right? Calendar dates, right? And let me just call this one calendar title, just for good practice. Calendar title, and this one I'll just call this entire card health calendar. Okay, so now what I will do now is, so back to constraints, right? So I want this element to stay at the bottom of this frame, of this card. When I increase the height of this guy, I want this element to follow the card and just stay at the bottom. So that's when constraints come into play. So since auto layout is not activated for this element, I can use constraint for this card on the inside. So I'll just go to this icon here, right? So if we're using the older UI, it will be like separated on its own, on the same, in this, I think it's put together, it's in the same group with position. So just click on this element here and you see a modal that says constraints, right? So this is the horizontal constraint, this is the vertical constraint. So what this means is horizontally you see options like left, right, left and right, center and scale. For top you see top, bottom, top and bottom, center and scale. So what left means this element should stay on the left side of this container. So this is left, right? So if I click on this parent frame now and I drag from the left, right, this element is going to stay on the left side. Let's go back, left and top, right? So if I click on this now and I drag, you can see how this element is staying on the left. That is, this card component, our calendar dates are staying on the left side of this frame. If I undo, Ctrl Z or Command Z, so go back and I click on it again and I go to constraint and I click on left and I click on right. So now if I drag this frame here, it is going to stay on the right side, and if I drag from the right, it's going to follow it. That's basically what constraints means, right? This is for horizontal constraints, by the way. So if I go on the inside again, I click on the constraint icon, I switch to left and right. What that means is no matter where I drag from, this element will be stretching, it will be going left and right? So as you can see, I drag across. As you can see here, it's just like spacing, and since it's an auto layout, the spacing in between them is just increasing, and this is basically what constraint is all about in Figma, right? So same thing applies for scale. Scale, on the other hand, basically means make it bigger. You just keep on increasing in size as I'm scaling it, right? And center just means keep it at the center, right? So this is center. See, stay at the center. And scale, on the other hand, is mostly used for images, right? So this is scale. Oh, no, that was for the vertical layout, vertical constraint. Sorry, just leave it at top, and let's call this one scale. So yeah, so I think it's basically when I increase the size, and it just sort of like scales with the frame. As you can see, it's just following the frame. I'm just readjusting, so I don't want to go deep into all these things, but I want you to understand, like, to understand how constraints work. So I'll just keep this at center, I guess. Doesn't really matter. I'm not like adjusting the width anyway. It's the height I'm adjusting. But for the vertical constraint, which is the important thing here, I'll keep it at bottom. So I want this frame, this card or this calendar date, to be at the bottom of the frame when I am adjusting it, right? So I'll just click here and I just drag. You can see how it stays to the bottom. That's exactly what I want. So I'm just adjust it a bit like this, right? And now next thing is to add the title of the calendar, that is the month, right? August 2024, and basically like the arrows I have on the left and the right hand side. So I'll just click T and I type August 2024, like so. And I think I made this guy a little bit bigger, yeah, 16 pixels. So click and I align to the center and I make this 16 pixels, like so, and I make this semi-bold, right? So yeah, I have my chevron here, so just to save time, I'll just like duplicate this guy. So you just drag across like so, and just bring it inside. So yeah, as you can see, it's basically a chevron that has a padding, right? So it's a padding of okay, I put it inside a rectangle, so it doesn't really matter, they mean the same thing. So this is a group. I group these guys, and you can see here, this is the arrow, the icon, and this is a rectangle that is 24 pixels and 24 pixels wide and 24 pixels in height as well, with a 4 pixel corner radius. So yeah, just to like break this down, just alt and drag to duplicate, and I have a rectangle. So you can alternatively just let me just group these guys. You can alternatively add a padding to the icon, shift A, and see 4 pixels, 4 pixels. If you want to then basically have a field, let's say a field of like 100, and have a stroke, let's say a stroke of 300, right? Make this field 50 instead, right? So then as always I could have like a small corner radius like I did for this guy. And voila, we just easily recreated that. Okay, so you could use a rectangle like I did here, or you could just like use auto layouts to by adding a padding. Just add shift A to the icon, so you can easily just like add the padding if you want to. So yeah, and as always the chevron has a color, so you can see gray 500 like we did there. So just yeah, so I'll duplicate and just like flip this guy like so. So I think 180 degrees should flip it to the right side, right? And just hold this to 1, 2, 3, shift A, right? Switch to space between, bring this to the left side. This is currently 416 pixels in width, so I can just make this guy 416 pixels, right? And align to the center, and boom, you have that. And you notice that for this particular design, you see how like I made this guy like a little bit grayed out. That's because it is inactive, right? You cannot see the next month yet because you have not like you don't have any activity for that next month, so it makes no sense for you to see the date. But that was just the idea I was going for, but let me just keep it the same here, right? So I'll change this guy to gray and make it I think 600, and I can like adjust this guy. So just bring it across, hold Alt to see the distance and make it 16 pixels. And if I want, I can now like drag this guy, right? So now it now makes more sense to have like an auto layout here now, and just say shift A or go to layout and click on this icon and you add an auto layout. So yeah, and now say okay, let me make this guy 16, and as you can see how like our item here, just our card here just sticks to the bottom, so we can easily just add like a bottom padding to our auto layout. So you just click here and add an individual padding at the bottom and just say 16 pixels, right? So yeah, there we go. Okay, so we have designed our calendar components. I don't know if this was, I used 16 here just to be sure. Okay, the spacing, the distance was 12 pixels, not 16. So let me just come here and make this guy 12 at the bottom and adjust this as well. So I have like 0 padding. Oh, okay. Spacing in between them is 16. Wait, hold on. I'm a little bit confused here. Alright, so 16. Let's go to back to our grid and just sort of like adjust the grid back. So we can easily resize manually. So make our margin 12, right? And just sort of like drag this guy across like so. We're almost at the 1 hour mark. I'm still on one component. Okay, so yeah, so 12. Okay, cool. So I think I'll just take the title as 16 still and just keep this remaining here like this. So yeah, I think space between these guys was 12 all through, right? So I didn't add an auto layout to this card, but I don't think it really matters. I added an auto layout before, but let me just like designing normally. So 12 pixels, and since this is constrained to the bottom, right, so let me just adjust this guy, right, so it's not anymore. So go back, keep this to the bottom, and just go here. This is 20, I want it to be 12, so 20 minus 8 is 12, so I'll just go here, height, and do small mass inside and say minus 8. Right, there we go. So we have 12 pixels across, and boom, that is our health card. So let me just review this guy. Yeah, so that's like the very first component we have designed to get that from scratch. It took quite some time, frankly, but I mean, we got it right at the end of the day. So yeah, so this chevrons is to basically switch from different months, and these are the dates, and this is showing the active day, and this is this action here just for the user to just go through and see like other reports per day, or just basically, as the name implies, daily reports, and this small chevron here shows that it's taking you to a different page. So yeah, so that's the idea behind this card real quick. So next thing we'll design will be okay, let's go from top to bottom. Let's design these two cards here, right? So now this is for sleep cycles. Let me just duplicate it and bring it here, right? So we can easily just see what we're designing, right? So now, as you can, if you notice, right, the frames are staying consistent throughout. Okay, so I'll just hold F on my keyboard and just draw a frame, and this is actually 448 in width, so I can just type 448 in width, right, and have a fill of white. As you can see, I like having my foreground lighter than the background, and as always add a stroke of 500 and make the corner radius 12 pixels, right? So I'll just like click on this and just drag it across. I can always resize the height later on, and just bring this guy close here. So yeah, so let's just finish this up real quick. So we have the title that says sleep cycle, so we can just duplicate this guy and that says sleep cycle, or duplicate the entire title so we save time, right, and just align to the top here like so. And instead of having an action, we have a drop down menu. So yeah, so now we can see how do we easily design this. This compromises of a text and a chevron, right? So let's just design that real quick. So we have a text that says July, right, and to save time we'll just be replicating our chevrons here. Just drag this guy out and just rotate it by 90 degrees, and we have our down chevron. So we select this guy here, select all them and add an auto layout to them. I think 8 makes sense. I don't know if 8 is too much. Okay, yeah, spacing between them is 8. So this auto layout, I'm going to add a padding to it, so I think I can add a padding of 4 pixels first and see. Then I can have a stroke on the inside, let's say 500 for the stroke, and make the corner radius 4 pixels like so, and voila, this is our drop down. So yeah, I might customize it a little bit more, so I use 8 and I use 6 here. So yeah, most of the time I like having the width of the horizontal padding is usually like more than the vertical padding. So this is horizontal, like I said, left to right. Vertical is top to bottom, so I can just make this guy 8 pixels and just hit tab here and make this guy 6 pixels, right? Then probably change the color of this guy to something lighter to match our style, and obviously I don't need to make it bold. I can just keep it medium, and I like the chevron to be a little bit lighter, so I can make the chevron 300, right, like so. So there we go. Let's keep it at 600. So this is our drop down menu, so I can just bring it inside, and you see what happens as I just drop it. It just sort of like snaps into place because this is an auto layout. So I can easily just delete this guy by hitting backspace or delete on my keyboard, right, and this just goes directly to the right hand side. So that's how we designed this drop down real quick. And when you click on this, you have the modals of the month, right? a mode that will show you like different months of the year. So, but we're not going to design that for time. But this just gives you an idea of what to expect. So this is a filter option that user has on the product, so that they can view, their sleep cycle. As this title is for sleep cycle, right? They can view their sleep cycle for, each month basically. So we can edit this by double clicking and just typing sleep cycle. Right, there we go. So now we're going to design this content that we have here. So like I said, I use GPT to get some ideas, right? So I sort of like just had sleep analysis here. I just like changed it to like sleep cycle and modified some content on my own. And I was like, yeah, let's let the user be able to measure or see on the average, right, their daily sleep for this particular month, right? So I'll break this into two. We have, this is the daily average sleep duration, 6.6 hours, and this is an increment per day. And this is just basically like a visual element to just show like the number of hours basically they sleep, like, visually. So this, on the other hand, is showing like the days the user had poor sleep. So this icon is associated with sleep or dark mode, or this is a moon icon basically. So we just show that this user had poor sleep hours 7 days of the month. So I designed this, and these strokes I see here are actually 31 in number, or I think 30 for the month of July, I think. And this red are actually 7 in number, marking the 7 days that the user did not sleep well. So this is just like, when you're working on your design, you can just find like interesting ways to sort of like just come up with, ideas to how you can easily represent information holistically, so the user can take it away, right? You don't want to keep the interface really boring, right? Just keep it interesting, but at the same time, let them easily just know where they are, or so that you want to design the UI in a way that they can easily take away information, because this is a dashboard, right? Users don't spend a lot of time on the dashboard. What should be on dashboards are quick actions, like we have at the top here. These are quick actions, right? And this is basically a health dashboard, so we are giving the user an overview of a lot of things that are happening, for them, basically. So yeah, let's just begin designing or redesigning, replicating what we have right already. So you see how like sometimes I use like my keyboard to move around elements on the screen, or my arrow keys rather, and this is something called nudge. So I think by default you have big nudge and you have small nudge, right? So if I go to this, if I go to if I click on this Figma logo here, the menu icon, I would see preferences, and I'll scroll to and I'll see nudge amount, right? So there's small nudge and there's big nudge. My small nudge is 1 pixel, my big nudge is 4 pixels, right? So what does nudge mean? Nudge means the keyboard movement, right? Left, top, right, and bottom arrow keys. So if I move my element to the right side, it means I'm moving it by the small nudge, which is by 1 pixel, right? So as you can see here, the distance is 32 pixels, but if I hit my keyboard, if I hit my right arrow key once, it takes it, it moves it to the right side by just 1 pixel, which is 31, right? And if I use shift and right arrow key, I use my big nudge, which is 4 pixels. So my big nudge is 4 pixels, right? And you can see now the distance here is now 28 pixels, right? If I use my big nudge again, shift and arrow key, 24 pixels, right? So it's increasing my keyboard movement by 4 pixels. So that's what I mean by big nudge and small nudge. So yeah, so I use 4 pixels for my big nudge because it keeps me into place with my 4 pixel grid in Figma for easy resizing and scaling. So yeah, I just thought to like share that as well. So let's just design what we have here real quick. So yeah, so we have a line like so that I can just keep it as 2 pixels, or I think 1.5. Yeah, I use 1.5. So keep this at 1.5 like so, and just have like a very small circle at the top. Yeah, very small circle like so. Let's reduce this guy a bit, so we'll just say 6 for now. Just sort of like, you can see how like it doesn't really align well because this is 6 and this is 1.5. So I can make this 5, right? Let's see if that's a little bit better, right? Still does not look like they're on the same like vertical line. Trying to select this guy. Oh, sorry, control. So see, they're not on the same line, as you can see. So I think for this guy, I think I used 1.5 and 4. 1.5 and 5.5, so just to keep it consistent, right? So it's been a while. Design is about 2-3 weeks ago, so I've sort of like forgotten a lot of these things. So 5.5 like so, and you can see now they are on the same line. So I can just like make these guys, change the color to let's say something a little bit darker, let's say 800. That's weird, my 700 is not here. Let me pause the video so I don't like waste time trying to fix that color. Give me a sec. Okay, so I think I probably detached the star by mistake, so I thought I would spend time like looking for it, so let me just like add that real quick. So bg/700, there we go. Just so like adjust it, bring it to the top like so. Yeah, all right, so yeah, back. So just control and drag across so I easily just switch. So let me just say this is 700. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to add a layer grid so that I can easily like just keep things away from the margin, right? So I think 16 should work just fine. So columns, the count doesn't really matter in this case. I just say margin 16, gutter 12. I can just like hide the parent layer grid. Okay, apparently I think I used 12. Let me just keep it consistent then. 12 for the margin, right? So just control drag these guys, keep it at the edge for now. Say 12 pixels, right? Okay, cool. So now I'm keeping the big content like at the top here, and I'm keeping like the breakdown daily average sleep on this side. So to save time, I'll just like duplicate and drag. I broke down the content. I just kept them like, I tried to stack it so like I don't take like a lot of space, right? So daily average sleep duration, and this is basically what I just like drew. So I think I can just like easily just replicate this real quick. So it's basically just a rectangle, right? So if I can see, I just drag across like so. This is a rectangle here. I can just like duplicate. So as you can see, to draw this rectangle, you just use the R key on your keyboard and just like draw a rectangle like so. This is a rectangle that I can customize. So I can just Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V this guy and make this one like a little bit darker. Okay, I didn't use my shades for this color. I used like a different color, so I just like use the eye picker to pick this guy and just sort of like resize like so. So I removed the like, notice I removed like the corners on this side of the rectangle. So we can just like click on this corner radius icon and just switch this to 0 and switch this to 0, so they have sharp edges, right? And I can just sort of like drag if I want to. So yeah, so as well as this other guy, this is content I placed here, and you can easily just like this is just like a text that has a color, a green, and same thing with this icon, so that you can get from the plugin iconify, like I said before. So yeah, daily average sleep duration, I just like duplicate this guy, just drag across like so, 6.6 hours, and let me just keep this guy like 16 pixels away from the top, so 1 2 16, drag like so, also make this one 16, and I can easily just like adjust these guys real quick easily. So yeah, so I can just group these two, Control Shift, I'm selected them, I hit Control G on my keyboard to easily group them, and just like adjust. I can make these guys 8 pixels apart, just drag this one down like so, then maybe, and just like aligning these guys was a problem, right? Because you notice the text has like a very small like the line height, right? So like having this aligned to the bottom without any like bottom padding, they won't be on the straight line, on the same line basically. So maybe what I can do is just add like a vertical padding if I want to, like this, but or I might not decide to add any auto layout to these guys. So this is an auto layout, by the way, and the spacing between them is 0 because this is currently fixed, right? If I switch this to hub, to just go on a straight line like so, so this is a fixed width. So yeah, so daily sleep duration, I'll just keep this two on the same line, aligned to the left, right, like so, and maybe just keep this, I think 12 is fine. What did I use here? Yeah, I used 12, so let's keep it at 12. So select these two, can keep spacing between them as 8, and just bring this one down, line to the bottom, and say, yeah, shift and right key to use my big notch, and this guy as well, shift and right key to use my big notch. So 12, okay, no, this is 16, this is 12, right? So yeah, that's how we designed that real quick. This one on the other hand is going to like basically be the same thing. So select these two real quick, and just like duplicate, right? So I can just like show. Yeah, so the reason why the layout grid is good here is because you can see here I have like two groups of information, right? So I can decide to use my layout grid to like segregate them just to keep it uniform across. I realize I didn't do that here, but let's just do that for good practice. So what I can do is to basically just like adjust this guy, right? Let's maybe increase the width like so. Same with this one, maybe adjust and say, and maybe ask this content here to probably fill the container, but it won't change much. Just go to the right side and just align it to the right, just space it out, since this is what we want to have as the fixed width. So if we ask this one to fill container, right, it's just like go down, right? Or if we say whole content, to just go like on a straight line. And since this is fixed, right, this content is going to respond to what this auto layout is saying. This auto layout is currently on a fixed width of 192 pixels, so you ask it to fill the container, it cannot override the parent container here. So fill the container based on what this one is saying. So let's just undo this guy and keep it as fixed width for now. I don't know if that makes sense, right? Still on the auto layout properties. So if this is a fixed width and you ask it to fill the container, right, it doesn't mean it's going to fill the container automatically. It's going to respond to what this parent container is. If this is on whole content, right, and I ask it to fill the container, for instance, now, nothing exactly happens, right? I'll just hide this layer grid. And let's keep this as hooked, sorry. And I say fill container. We set to fix for this guy. So okay, this is also has a fix. So if I say all content, right? You see how this content just sort of like just tries to fill up this content we have here, right? Right side. Yeah. So okay. So setting a space here to space between. Alright, so yeah, so this is 8 pixels apart. Sometimes like the auto layout thing even confuses me sometimes, but I sort of like understand it how it works. So fixed is saying stay in that particular width or that particular height. All content is basically saying wrap your hands around me. Fill container is basically saying respond to the size of the parent container housing me. I don't know if you get. But since this is not a lone element, if I hide this guy now, right? Oh, sorry. If I hide this and I say fill container, see how it like just fills the entire container. If I review this other guy back now, it adjusts the content to accommodate this little guy here, right? So that's pretty much how like this thing works. So alright, so yeah, so we have this icon here that is pretty much a rectangle and this home and this like moon icon. So I use a rectangle here, but just like this other guy, we could just auto layout for them. So if I just like duplicate the moon icon, just drag across like so, and shift A, and just basically add a fill of 50 and a stroke of 300, and just say 4 pixels as the corner radius. Basically recreated that real quick. So okay, I didn't have a stroke. Let me just remove the stroke I have here, right? Remove the stroke. So add this guy to the top. Remember that 16 pixels away from the top and 12 pixels away from this divider here, like so. So let's just align this guy first and say okay. Yeah, I feel like the reason why I didn't even use the wherever here was because of how like it was probably too close to the edge, close to the other guy. When this is 16, yeah. But the way spacing works is the closer objects are to each other, like the more related they are, right? So yeah, so if we want to go straight with our layout grid, we'll increase our gutter and just keep the margin as 12 since that's what we're doing. So what I'll now do is that to reduce this guy here and reduce this guy here like so, and say okay, this is 16, right? Bring this guy closer, check, shift, arrow key, okay. Then now the important thing is to design this. Let us put this out text here. You have this amount of sleep in 7 days. So yeah, 12 pixels right from the edge, and let's just adjust this guy here so it stays on the 12. And you see how this color just contains 300 and 700, two different color styles. So I wanted to emphasize this 7 days. So what you can do to do this is let me just remove this color and just say 300, sorry, and just say the same color style, right? Now see that this is a little, I made this guy bold on the inside. You can just adjust this, you can see different styles. right? So keep this as bold, and we go to our fill and say make use 700. So that's how I made that one darker, right? Then for this element, right, I just drew them one by one, like I said, and I think these were 30, like I said before. So you could just like draw the lines. I think they're just they're lines of 1.5 pixels in width. You can use rectangles if you want to, but lines are easier in this case for me. So I just draw a line. Let's say a line of 16 pixels, right? I think 16 is a little bit too much. I think I used 12 here. Yeah, 12. So let's use 12. So a line of 12 pixels, and say let's make you 700, right? Let's make it a little bit darker. Let's just use this color. Let's just say 50. Or what color did I use? I want to just get it perfectly. Okay, yeah, I used the 900 background, so let's just say 900 background, right? And we'll duplicate this guy. 2, 3. So what I can do, I can just like select all of them like so, Shift A, right? And switch to space between, like double clicking here. Then what I can do is just make sure I align to this guy like so. Make sure it is 16 pixels away and just like drag across this guy, right? So yeah, there we go, 16 and 12. Bring it to the bottom, right? And now all we can do is just keep on adding. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically have 5 lines, right? So we need to add more. So Control C and just keep on adding. So this is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I can just count easily. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Now fuck it. Just add till I'm tired of adding. There we go. I think I can see count, right? I can't see how many exactly. So this is 1. Doesn't matter. Okay, 27, right? See, I'm seeing the number I have here, 27. So let's add 3 more, right? V. There we go. So just select. So select, hold shift and select the next one. Yeah, so we have 30. So now what can we do? I can make these guys like a little bit, we want to have 7 days that are marked red, right? So just pick one as random, remove the style, click on this color here, switch to the red hue, and just play around with a shade, something like this, something not too reddish, like just something that doesn't have like a lot of saturation, like this shade now for instance, right? So now select all of these guys, right? Select all of these guys, and I would round their bottom as well as their top. Not diamond, Jesus Christ, round please. Yeah, there we go. So boom, I cannot like copy. I didn't work for every single thing. So select all of them again, hold and press shift and switch to round. Yeah, then select one, just copy the hex code and just sort of like try to paste it onto like 6 other ones. So just, this is number 3, this is number 4. I'll just go to edge and paste remaining 2. Right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 2 more to paste, right? So this is penultimate one, number 6, and number 7. Just saying that 7 days was when this user had like poor sleep. So yeah, so I think Apparently I used 12 here, I guess. So let's just increase this guy to 12. Remember shift and arrow key for the big notch, and this guy, okay, just small notch, right, 12 pixels, and boom. So now we can reduce this one and say, okay, because these guys are 16 pixels apart, so let's just reduce this to -4 from the height and say 202 minus 4. Yeah, 198. So we have designed this guy. Okay, I think I kept it at 16. Sorry. So let me just, I can easily undo that, but you can always do mass in Figma. So just go here and add 4 back to 16. So I think it was the, oh my god, yeah, I kept the margin to be 16 too, so we have to go back and fix that. So remember shift G to review like your layout grid. So 16, so I have to come back and start adjusting now. So let's make this guy a group so it's easier for me. Control G, select, shift and right arrow key, right? Then I'm going to adjust this guy, just drag them back here like so. So yeah, then just drag these guys back. 16, yeah, we're good. So that's how I designed that particular element, right? So yeah, 1 hour 31 minutes in. Oh my god. So the last element on this line is this profile statistics, so I can just delete this guy. Let's name this guy sleep cycle so we do not forget. So let's call this guy sleep cycle. Okay, so yeah, so profile statistics is what we have next, right? So we can easily just duplicate this guy, right? And call this guy profile statistics, right? Profile statistics. And what this card does is just to like give the user an overview of like their profile, their age, height, weight, and BMI. So instead of having the drop down, we have an action that says update profile. So we can easily just copy our button here and just come here and Ctrl V and remove this drop down, right? And change the CTA to update profile. Now see how like it didn't just like we wrote on top of the arrow. That's because I think the width of this guy is fixed exactly. So we'll just come here. You see how I went to like the parent container, shift enter. Enter takes you inside the frame, shift enter does the reverse, just like tab and shift tab. So shift enter takes me back. I'll go here and I'll switch to hot content. Oh, I didn't type this one. So update profile. Yeah. So so just control these guys and delete. Then just so I try to duplicate this, right? So let's start from this small tag that we have here. So last updated 4 days ago, last updated 4 days ago. Right, so we'll just switch this to a medium, shift A, right, and just have like a small like shade inside, and just change the default black to like maybe like a 500, right, and just maybe just play with the padding a little bit. So you can come here and say this is okay, come here and say let's make this guy 4 pixels, right? Then if you want, sometimes you can reduce the height to like 2. That's what I did there. So yeah, this is a medium. I use a regular here, so let's use a regular. Alright, so like I said, for best practice you can easily always create textiles, but like I said, I didn't do that for this video because I had to create styles for each individual front weight, which would have taken me a lot of time. So once I'm practicing or I'm just trying to experiment, I usually do not create textiles. I just like, it's mostly the color styles I create because I need to keep my colors consistent, and with the color styles it's easier for you to like just switch from one color to another. So yeah, let's make this a little bit darker, so say 400, I guess. Yeah, so now we add all these details here, so we can easily just like duplicate this guy, Ctrl C and Ctrl V. Okay, so for constraining sake, I'll just constrain this guy to the bottom, so like I can easily resize the height of this frame. So as always, like I was going to talk about this before, but when you're designing dashboards, you can always increase the height every single time, right? What is usually constant is the width of the dashboard, so the height to accommodate more content. Just delete this, just drag across like so. So then this guy can just come down. Yeah, so skip it at, I think I used 12 here. Let's just use 16. So 16 for space between the title and this tag, and I'll use 12 pixels here. So I'll just minus this guy, minus 8 from the total height of the container. So there we go, that's 12. So we have this and this, so just copy and paste them their basic text. So yeah, so I'm trying to make this guy 12. Okay, no, so okay, I made this one like a lot more, 16 pixels. Okay, so add the height +4. Okay, so yeah, so age, this and that, so I can just like duplicate, so line, just control and drag across, then just like shift and drag, then control D, right? So we have 4, so just to check, just change the content here to height, change the content here to weight, and change the content here to BMI. So I can say 174 centimeter. Then since the user has not filled, I just keep this as a dash, like so. It's a dash, like so. So you can just like drag, select these 3. Just so like, oh my god, and just like adjust these guys a bit. Just resize. Yeah, so that's how I designed the profile statistics card. Okay, so I'm feeling a little bit sleepy, frankly, because this is like 4 a.m. as of when I'm making this video. So sorry if my voice like gets really low, so I'm sort of like a little bit sleepy. So yeah, so we've designed that entire like row, right? So we're done with like, sorry, this entire column, right? So now what's next is to the design the graph and these two other containers. Then we learn how to design the dark mode version. So yeah, we are almost 2 hours in. So yeah, so now for the dashboard, now for the graph, since we have defined the container space for this guy, so we're gonna say okay, that was going to take the remaining parts of the layout grid. So if I turn on the layout grid, you see that these guys they take only just 4 columns. So the 8 columns is where we're going to have, you know, the graph occupied, right? So we just hold F on your keyboard, right, and just like drag across. Don't worry about the height, the width is all we need right now. So 16 pixels, drag across. Then we can have our fill of white, remember, and have our stroke of 500, right? Then of course corner radius can be 12 pixels like this. Yeah, so there is our layout. So now for the title of this guy, we have distance and calories, and we have, this is what we call a legend. So let me just talk about the graph real quick. So this graph is giving us information on 2 metrics against time, right? So I'm plotting 2 graphs against 2 items on the y-axis against 1 item on the x-axis. So the y-axis is the vertical axis, that is this here and this here. The x-axis is this axis, which is the bottom element here, which is the time. So we're plotting distance. So this is distance in kilometer, and this is calories, right, on the right side. So now this yellow, or this gradient here, so this is the small linear gradient, is representing the distance, right, that this user has covered over time, and this blue is representing the calories this user has basically, you know, burnt over time, right? So you can have like 3 items or 2 items on one graph as long as they're connected. So when I was working on this idea, I just found a way to sort of like compare these 2 values against time. So you're running or you're jogging, the distance you've covered over a period of time, and the calories you have burnt maybe while like jogging or exercising over a period of time. So here, and this is basically just the drop down that we have here. So let's just take this from top to bottom, right? So let me just copy this guy here since it's the same title, right? Align to the top and to the left hand side, and just like stretch it across. So this is 912 in pixels. Let me also make this 912 in pixels, right? So they're on the same line, right? Now we have this, like I said, what we call a legend here, distance and calories. But first, let us change. Let's add the drop down, which is this drop down here. So I'll just copy this guy like so, and just come here and paste, right? I'll remove this city because we don't need it for this guy. I'll just call this one quarterly, right? And now this is going to be distance and calories, right? So come here and type distance and calories. This is the title of this particular card. So now we're going to have these 2 elements here, distance and calories. Like I call this thing a legend. So a legend is basically like a visual what's it called, a visual reminder of what something is being measured in, or like giving information on what the graph is basically measuring or comparing, right? So when you see this yellow, it means that this yellow, this gradient is referring to distance, right? And this blue is referring to calories. So that's what legend means. So what I can just do is, since these are gradients, And yeah, you can get gradients from gradients.com. This is where I get gradients sometimes from utility to gradient from scratch. You can just like copy hex codes of like various gradients from here, and just like use them in your design. So I think I got this one from here, right? So yeah, so to save time, I'll just like copy these two. They're quite simple. They're just text with circles on the inside, and I'll just paste them here like so. You can see how like they're sort of like just spaced far apart from each other. So these three have to be grouped together in an auto layout, right? So what I'll do is I'll select these three, right? 1, 2, 3. Hit Shift A on my keyboard, right? Change the spacing. Spacing is hogged. Spacing between them, I'll change spacing between them to 12. And I'll take this model to the right hand side, right? And that's how I was able to like design that. So these are texts that are quite simple. This is an auto layout on its own. Text and circle auto layout that are 8 pixels apart. And same thing with this guy. These are individual elements that are auto layout, and I auto layouted them again. So like they are grouped and they don't like respond to this parent container, because if I ungroup them at a shift control G, see how they just like respond, and they're trying to space themselves automatically throughout this container, but that's not what I want. So select 1, 2, 3, shift A, change spacing to them to 12 pixels, and they'll go to the right because automatically this frame is on auto, so they'll just be on the same line like that, right? So yeah, so that's how I designed this title now. So the next thing is to sort of like get be able to design this graph. So what the next thing I usually work on is to sort of like define the elements I'm trying to measure, right? So this represents distance in kilometer, this represents time, and this represents calories. So I can easily just like duplicate these guys one by one, right? But that will just take time. So these are very, very small. I'll just really explain these things, so I don't spend too much time on these guys. So this is a group of elements. As you can see, if I Control C and Control V, which is copy and paste, these guys are in an auto layout, right? And as you can see, this is unlike this one. This is a horizontal auto layout, and this is a vertical auto layout. See the direction of this arrow is pointing downwards, right? And this is pointing to the right? So this is a vertical auto layout, and this is a horizontal auto layout. A vertical auto layout goes from top to bottom. If I switch to this side, see how it just goes to the right and just wants to be on the same horizontal line. A vertical auto layout, on the other hand, goes from top to bottom, like so, like this, right? And like it's a lot easier. It's basically just a different auto layout, and just goes on a straight line like this. This, on the other hand, is what we call a wrapped auto layout, which basically just wraps content around like this, right? So if I switch this height to hogged, it just hog it automatically. So hogged is and wrapped is basically like a mixture of vertical and horizontal auto layout. So yeah, so these are in 12 pixels, and they're like a lot smaller because they're not important. So I want you to take note of all of these things, right, in terms of like hierarchy and size and contrast. If you look at this design, I want you to know what this table is about, or what this card is about. Hence me like laying emphasis on some of these things, like the weight and the contrast of the text at the top here, the titles. The elements you are seeing here, the smaller ones, they don't need to be as prominent as this because they are not as important as the title. So they're a lot smaller. The emphasis on them visually is like it's not a lot. So like you can see how like smaller they look like, and how lighter they are to the eyes. So all these things are things you want to pay attention to, right? So yeah. So I define the content I want to have here. I just like put them one by one and just auto layouted them and kept them on the same vertical line. Same with the other guy here. Just hide the grid. Just So this is 16 pixels from the edge, 16 from the top, and 12 on the right. So I'll just duplicate this guy like so, make it to the edge here, right? So 16, 16 right, 16 left, 16 top as well. Then I can just draw a line that I like to call a separator line. Just draw across like this and say 500, right? So make sure like it just interacts or it touches this one here, and just bring it across like this. So this is 12 pixels. Yeah, so I just drag across like this. So do the same thing for the other side, and make sure this is like just 16 pixels away from the edge, 16 from the top as well, and 12 pixels away from the separator line. So just bring the separator closer like this. Yeah, okay, there we go. So I can adjust the height a little bit. The same thing with these elements at the bottom here. So you see how like I just strategically just made it a little bit different. You see how that this is quarterly, so I want to show 3 months. Quarterly means 3, that is when it comes to the months of the year. So 1 quarter, or first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. So this is showing 3 months: June, July, August, right? And these are just the dates in between. Ideally, when user clicks on this, there will be a drop down to filter based on monthly basis or quarterly basis and things like that. So yeah, so I'll just copy this content here, Ctrl C, and come here and paste, Ctrl V, right? So then what I can do is, let me just keep this height the same. The height is 475. Just keep it 475, right? So I say that the reason why this group moved with it is because it is constrained to the bottom, right? So I keep that to the top here, and I just make this guy 475. See, it just stays there permanently. So now I'm going to draw another separator line like so, to separate it from the content that will be on top of it. Just have like, make this 500, right? I just drag across like so, and I bring this one down and make it 12 pixels away. So alright, so that's how we're able to design this now. So the next thing I have, you see how like I use like some dots here, right? Although I locked them, so I cannot really like touch them with my mouse cursor, but yeah, just like just make the graph a little bit more realistic. Some people might just go with like using maybe a line that will go across like this, right? Which is fine. But I did not want to use a line in my case. I think just use dots to just make it look a little bit different. So, and observe how like these guys are like are lighter to the eyes. Like I said, I mentioned contrast before. Some things are more important than the other when it comes to design. So these items at the bottom are just basically labels, right? They are labels. They are not as important as as the content that's going to be on top of them, like the graph for instance now, or the title element at the top there. They're not as important. So I basically just have to find a way to separate them, right? Or sorry, segregate them from the main design, so that they don't really disturb the eyes. So they are there for a reason, just to sort of like give you information, right? And depending on how this product is designed, if there's an interaction when you hover on it, it can get like more prominent. So like for instance, if I hover on this 4, it can maybe get a little bit darker depending on how this thing was designed, right? So let me just add the dots, and I think that would be what's left. So now each date will have a dot attached to it. So we'll have a dot here, have a dot here, have a dot here, have a dot here. So let me just copy from this guy so I don't waste time. So I just I need to group them. because I lock them, so like I won't be interacting with them too much. So yeah, so yeah, let me just copy the entire thing and just like paste it here. Yeah, so it will not be on the same line, but yeah, just to make sure like they're on the same line and all. $348 as well. Okay, so yeah, so so I was saying, like, basically sometimes depending on how the product is designed, when you hover, right, certain interactions will happen. So this is web, so you can leverage hover interactions for web and consider them when like you're designing your experience, right? So for instance, now if you could hover on this guy, like this month now, it could be a little bit darker, just to show that it is being hovered on, right? And see how all of these dots are like, grayed out. They're not so prominent because they're not important. So if we like go to Figma Mirror and see what we've designed so far, you can see how like everything is just coming together like on the screen, right? So cool. So I'll just like lock this dot so like I don't like mistakenly, interact with them or drag them when I'm like drawing the graph, which I would just get started right now. So like I said, we're plotting two things. We're plotting distance and calories against time, right? And we've used this to differentiate distance, and to highlight distance, I beg your pardon, we've used it to highlight calories. So you can see, just use the pen tool to draw a graph here, just to make it a little bit realistic, right? So there are plugins to help you in graphs, but I prefer to do these things on my own, so like I have like more precision when I'm drawing my graph. So I can just like just freestyle. Mostly I just go like really like boxy. I'm not like adjusting or like using the anchor points, the handles like this, for instance. I'm mostly just go like straightforward and edit them later on, right? So I'll just keep this one straight and just spike up a little bit here, right? Cool. Now this is just like one graph we have drawn, so if you just come here and edit this guy, drag it a little bit more. Sorry. Just drag this here like so. Yeah, so that is one graph, and we can just make this a linear gradient like this guy. So but before we do that, let me just customize this a little bit. So you notice that when I draw this graph, you can see how like it's looking a little bit curved, and there's like a gradient like directly under it. So to keep this thing with the same shape, what I usually do is to like I duplicate this, right? So I Ctrl C, Ctrl V, right? So Figma just paste another one on top of it. Then I basically just show my properties panel, and let me hide this one let me hide one at the top first and focus on this one at the bottom. And I'll use my pen tool to complete the shape, right? So I can just duplicate. Sorry, I double click on the inside to go to the editing pen tool capabilities. Just click once, right, to continue the shape, and just like click something on the down here, holding shift, so I just draw a straight line across, and I hold shift again to click, then I hold shift again and I click, right? And this is already a shape. So I can hit shift and X on my keyboard to switch to a fill, from stroke to fill, right? Make this a fill, and what I can do now is to just make this a linear gradient like this guy. So I can just copy the values here for a linear gradient, since I didn't create a style for it. So just click here, go to gradient, and Figma gives me a linear that goes from left to right. So just like paste this value here, then I go back on the inside of this guy, control click, copy the second hex here and come here and paste it. Right, there we go. So that's how we've created this guy now. So now what I'll do here is to basically just play with the opacity, right, of this gradient. So before I do that, let me just review the vector at the top. Right, this is what it's going to be like at the top of the graph. So I can select this guy and also like have the linear gradient here, and paste this value here, and come here and copy the other hex code, Ctrl C, and paste the hex code here as well. So now I can come here and basically just like play with the opacity like I said. So I think what I did for this guy was this was a fill. Sorry, just say I have like a linear gradient here that goes from 30 to 0, right? And that's because alternatively, if I wanted to like edit this and like, because the idea is not to make it permanent, because this is too obvious, right? I just want to reduce the weight appearing on my screen. So obviously the way to do it is just to have something like this and like 10% to just make this a little bit transparent, or make it very transparent. Sorry, this is 10%, or let's even say 20%, right? But the issue with it is that I'm going to be seeing these edges at the bottom here, but I don't want to see the edges at the bottom, right? If you look at what I did here, this is a linear gradient that's going from top to bottom, right? And if you look at the properties, this particular color is 0%, meaning it's completely faded out, going all the way down here, right? So you notice how I think I made this a 2 pixel stroke here. So this is a 2 pixel stroke. That is this guy here. So control click and make this guy 2 pixels, like so. And like I said, I don't want it to be too jagged and like too like boxy and too pointy. So what I'll do is select these two, right? And I will just round the corners a bit. I see the slight difference here. I think 8 is fine. I think for this guy, I used 48 for this guy. So I think that's when I think about that, it looks a little bit too much softball. So let me just leave this one at 0 first, right? And begin to just tweak the corners of this guy. Let's just say 24. Right, so you can see how like the graph is like looking a little bit circular. And now the issue with now like having the same thing for this guy here is that it's going to like follow it, but the bottom, the edges are going to be a problem. So what I can do is just sort of like customize this guy, right? And okay, come here, and I cannot like adjust the corner radius for vectors that are not like an actual square, right? So what I did was just come here and start editing things myself. Like I go into like the objects. Let me just make this guy 0, or let me just say 4, right? Make this guy 4. Now let me make it 0, right? Then I'll just go in like this, control click on the inside, and I'll begin to tweak the values by myself, right? So I'll come here and just begin to adjust the handles myself to sort of like just mask it into so like mask it into the shape, so it just sort of like follows the stroke here. So double click, switch to the bend tool, which is control, So it just bends, and I go back to the move tool and just just bring it down here like so. I don't know if this makes sense. What I'm trying to do is just to manually customize the curvature of these guys. So like I just keep it directly under, because I want to have a linear gradient for this guy here. If I curve it the way I'm curving like the other graph, that is the corner radius, this particular object is going to look a little bit weird, so like this is how I manually draw my graphs. I just like control the curve of the element I have on the inside, and holding Alt can adjust a handle like this. Shift snaps it into place. You can adjust the handle without it affecting the other one, right? By holding Alt and just dragging it across like this. So see now, this is affecting this other guy, right? See, there's a handle here and a handle here, but if I decide to hold Alt, it does not affect the other handle. So I can like just manually adjust and try and keep it directly under this guy here. So control click, curve, drag it here, Alt for this handle, adjust, Alt for this other handle, adjust, right? Spacebar to pan, or if you're using an external mouse like myself, the scroll wheel can also help you pan. So control click to get the curve, bring it inside, to change it to like a what's this thing called again, to change it to a bend pretty much. So Alt to adjust this guy, right? Alt to adjust this guy as well, right? So control click to get the bend, bring this one here like so. Alt to adjust this guy here, Alt to adjust this other guy, right? Control click again, bring it inside. Use Alt to adjust this guy. I don't think I need to adjust this guy. This guy is cool. Just like move it across like so. Control click to get the bend. Bring it inside like so. I think I can bring this guy inside as well. Okay, I have to just control click again to get the bend. Bring it here. Use Alt to drag this end of the handle. Control click to get the bend for this guy. Bring it inside. Alt and move your mouse to like just constrain it to this side, to this handle, and maybe you can just move this guy around here like so. And Alt again. There we go. Okay, just small, tiny. Yeah. So I've sort of like masked this shape directly under. So go to these other guys. Control click again, move across. Alt for the handle, bend to hide it behind. Control click again to get the bend, bring it inside, right? Alt to drag and just manage the handle like so. Control click again, bring it inside, use Alt for this handle and just drag across like so. Control click again, bring it inside, bend the handle like so. I'll just move it across again, double click to enter inside the editing capability of the vector. Control click again, bring it inside, use the handle to like just bend, so you can just edit or manipulate just one handle without it affecting the other side. So this guy, you can just like use the arrow key to nudge it inside like so. And there we go. We've been able to like mask the shape directly under our graph. So there we go. So you can click on this guy and go to the gradient and just switch it from a horizontal gradient to a vertical gradient, right? So yeah. So I'll make this guy 0 so it fades out like so. Just bring it close here, and I can just drag this guy across like this. to make it like very very light. Alternatively, I can reduce the opacity here to like 30 or 50 to reduce the intensity of the color there, or I just drag it far away from this guy. So these are ways you can basically just freestyle with your graph, and that's how I just designed that graph there real quick. So yeah, so to save time, I'll just like duplicate it instead of drawing another graph, because I also have to tweak the graph to to this shape and just mask it around like I've been masking before, just to like repeat what I just did. Or I guess you can rewind the video. But yeah, I have two lines. I will draw the outline I want first, right? Then duplicate it, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, hide one, right? Then I make one a full shape, switch from stroke to fill, which using Shift X, add the gradient if I want to have a gradient on the inside, or a fill color, and just like reduce the opacity, make the bottom a 0% fade, so like you don't get to see the border at the bottom, right? And adjust and play around. Then you need to mask. If you are going to have curves on the graphs like this, you want to be able to like curve, you want to be able to mask the object inside, so like it doesn't come out and be shooting out of the curve you've added. So if you have a corner radius on your graph, which like I did here for this one here, right, you want to be able to mask out the fill object, like this particular object here, so like it just matches the shape of the gradient. You can see the difference between having like a normal line here, if I go to Figma mirror, right, and having like a slight overlay, a shape there that just makes it look a little bit more realistic, just makes the design come to life a little bit. So those little details can make a lot of difference, right? So I'll just duplicate this guy, Ctrl G, then Ctrl C, Ctrl V, copy and paste, and just like drag this one across, like so. Then just change the color. So this is a linear gradient that goes from 0, 0. Just copy the hex code of this guy, paste, go inside again, control click, copy the cyan color, come here and paste. There we go. So yeah, that is that color. Now come here and I'm going to also paste the cyan here, then copy the darker color and just like paste it at the top here, like so. There we go. So that's how I designed it. Obviously they look the same because I just duplicated them, but because of the time I don't want to be shaping them and resizing and masking everything I just did before. So that first one was an example, so you really understand what I mean when you can just like play around with your graph values, or just tweak and just make it look like realistic and all. So yeah, the next thing is to design this small hover modal. And what this means is this element, this is a cursor that shows what happens for an interaction. So when the user hovers on this part of the graph, remember that this graph is for distance, right? Remember distance. So when the user hovers on this, it is showing them the distance they had covered within a period of time. So this is May, like ending of May, the 30th May 24, and this is just showing like the amounts they covered. They covered 1.98 kilometers on this day, and they covered it in 5.4 hours. So let's just design that real quick. It's not difficult. So we just duplicate this circle here, right? So then we have distance, we have 1.98 kilometer. Just drag this across and just duplicate it, so don't spend too much time on that. So we have this here, so we just say we have 1.98 kilometer. Obviously we won't be able to see it. Let me not be lazy, let me just type this out. So 1.9 kilometers. Let me just change it to like a darker color so we see. And we have 30 May 30th May 24, right? We have like a small dot here, right? So this is going to be a group. Shift A these guys, right? And we have like this small icon that you can get from Iconify. So let me just like copy it here and our text. So these guys, so this is an auto layout, right? This too will be auto layouted as well. So what I did here was to add like a padding. I think let me just see 8 and 8 pixels work, and you can just make this guy a fill first. So you can easily see what's going on. So let me just say 700 or 800, right? Make this guy a white. This guy will be one of our grays. Okay, I'll just use like a lighter color, like so. I'll make this one a regular. So remember, this should hug, so it shows it like hugs everything, and this is going to be at the center, like so. Just make this guy have a stroke at the bottom, like so. Just make this let's say 700, right? Just bring this across here, bring this one here too. So this will be a group. I'll make this guy's 4 pixels, right? Bring it closer like that. I'll reduce this to probably 6. We just have a corner radius here. Let's say 12 first. Okay, I think 12 is too much. Let's say 8, right? Then let's add a padding to this guy at the bottom. So let's just say let's say 8 first, right? I think I'll just add the 8 padding just to the bottom. So not quite. So let's just leave it that way. Let me see what I did here. 12 for the horizontal padding, 8 for both sides. This was also 8, so 8, 8, 12. There was no spacing between them, so I moved the spacing and kept it at 0. And voila, that's pretty much how this was designed. So I can make this a little bit lighter, say 300. Nah, that's too light, say 500. Also too light, say 700. Too light. Let's say 600. Alright, so this is a little bit darker though, but I think this works. Let me make this guy 12. Yeah, there we go. So that's basically how this was designed real quick. So basically this guy should be 8. Delete. So I come here and I just sort of like bring it down. What I can do is just like copy the cursor I have here. This cursor can be gotten from my Iconify as well. Just Ctrl C, Ctrl V that guy, and paste it here. Right, so just a little bit under me. Yeah. So you can just like keep this one here, like so. And just like for the design, like you see how like it might not be so obvious, but you can see through this card, see like the gradient, the graph, I beg your pardon, right? So how did I do that? It's quite simple. You can easily just reduce the opacity. You don't reduce the opacity of like the fill color, right? Some people probably want to do this, right? It will work, but I want to reduce the opacity of the entire card, right? So let me just say make this guy 90. right? So that small difference there just changes everything. So if you want to, you can test that have a shadow, right? But I just need to add a shadow here. But that's pretty much how this was designed real quick. So yeah, just a slight subtle difference. If you want, you can also add a layer blur. So there's is a background blur, sorry, so that there's a blur on the graph directly under. That's not working though. Let me see why. Let me see. Yeah, okay. So the blur works with the fill reduced. Yeah, so see this subtle 1 pixel blur now, see on the fill there. But this just looks a little bit better because the fill by we having a color on the fill there, by we reducing the opacity only on the fill, the entire design looks a little bit weird. I don't know if you get. Let me just undo. See, right? It's only just the background, this fill that is changing, right? The elements are not responding to it and they look a little bit weird. Take the separator for instance now. But if it is a fill, if it's the entire layer that I'm reducing in appearance, right, everything blends with it. So this looks a little bit better. But apparently the layer blur does not work for this use case scenario. I want to believe so. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, but yeah. So that's that. So that's how I designed that as well. The idea is just to show a possible hover interaction when the user hovers on the distance graph and they get to see kilometer distance, they get to see the time and the distance that was covered as well. So yeah, so I think that concludes our graph. Yeah, so next thing is to design these 2 cards left. So cool. So you notice that we have space, we have a space here, we have this space here. And how did I decide how to measure these 2 contents here? Quite simple. So my gutter is 16 pixels, right? My gutter is 16 pixels. So all I needed to do was remember that this graph contained 8 basically we'll be just having 8 columns of content, right? Basically just 8 columns rather, right? Our count was 12 and these elements on the right here occupied 4 and our graph occupied 8. Now we have 2 elements we want to add here, right? So we just break it into 2. 8 divided by 2 is 4. So each card container will occupy 4 columns, 4 column counts respectively. So just draw a frame here, right? It covers 4, right? So make sure it's 16 pixels. It's almost done. So 1, 2, 3, and minus the height, minus 3 from the height. So, yeah. So we give this guy a fill of white, remember, and a stroke of 500. And I think our corner radius is 12, right? Cool. So this is 1 container, right? And we can just duplicate it. Remember, it's occupying 4 columns. So just shift, alt, and drag across. Yeah, there we go. We have our second container, right? So now let's start by designing this one first. So quite simple. We can just copy our title here, copy and paste. See, it fits exactly because they are the same width, right? And now this card is basically just highlighting the AI tools available to the user. This user is currently on a pro version of this product, so they can see you can access AI tools, right? So we call this Health Hub AI tools. Let me just copy, right? Copy the text here and just paste to save time. And yeah, explore more is the call to action. So Control C on me again, and also Control V, right? Remember, Shift Enter to go to the parent container and switch from fixed to hub content. Right, there we go. So now we have a text here and an image here, group of text and an image, right? So this image was gotten from Unsplash, so you can just go to like the plugin here, go to plugins and widgets, and you see Unsplash, right? When you click on Unsplash, it runs, depending on how strong your network is, it's going to load the plugin, and a model will pop up on your screen, and you can basically search for images, right? There's the paid version. The pro images have watermarks on them, so you could probably just, if you want the pro version, you probably have to pay. But everything I need is usually on the free version. No, I'm not seeing. Okay, there we go. So let me just say these are tags that exist. Let me just click on plants now, for instance, right? There are photos, there are illustrations as well, so you can like just copy illustrations and use. Apparently, most of the options for this category for illustrations are paid projects, or are paid for the paid plan. So anyway, you see this logo at the top, just know it's paid. You can see unlock. So photos, these are free. So if you want one, just click on it to load the image. Depending on how strong the network is, and just paste it on your file. There we go. So that's like an image, right? It's actually pretty nice though. Anyway, so yeah, so what I did here was just to draw a frame. I sort of like defined the height of my content. So this was my body. Just copy these guys and paste it here, so I don't waste time. So yeah, so this is 12, or was it 12 I used? Looking at this, I'm seeing things I want to change. Yeah, 16. So yeah, so this is basically just a banner or a card that just like gives the user like more insight as to like the AI tool. So predictive health alerts receive early warnings for potential health issues through AI's predictive analytics, right? So this is basically just an image, right, that I placed inside the frame. If I toggle on the layers panel, you can see this is a frame, and these are images I work with too. So see, so you can just like copy your image like I brought here from Unsplash. Just copy, click on the inside and paste, right, and just like resize. So yeah, so that's your image. Alternatively, you can have a rectangle you want, and just paste your image directly into the rectangle. I think this only works directly for some. I've forgotten how this thing works, but I think it's like, okay, yeah, when you want to place, you can import. When you want to import an image, right? File, in place image, yeah. If you want to place an image, let me just try and like experiment that real quick. So, file, place, Ctrl Shift and K. So let me just see if I copy this, if I copy my picture right now, yeah, and see, are you seeing the thumbnail, the preview, yeah. So if I place it inside this rectangle, see how we just fuse it up, right? Automatically it just resizes and just follows the rectangle. So yeah, so that's what I meant by placing directly into rectangles. But the reason why I don't really like doing this is because it does not give me control of my images, right? So I just prefer to place them inside a frame and resize them myself. So yeah, so that's why we have this here. just resize. Normally hold Alt and Shift so you don't constrain. So you constrain the sizes rather, and I just kept that on this on like the same line. So these are just text, same size, just different. So like I reduce the emphasis on the body text because it's not as important as the header text, right? So just did that here, and this was just like a very very cool idea I wanted to go with. So this is a frame, right? So just paste this guy. This is a frame that I just played with here, a frame with a color on the inside, and this is just a rectangle, and this is just a vector illustration. This is just an icon inside the circle, header, body text, and the button, right? So quite simple. So yeah, the idea of this was just to leverage the power of AI and just show you that okay, you can basically just have customized conversations, right? So you have like tailored, customized conversations with the chatbot, which is called Omni, right? So Omni is your freshly engineered health companion. Explore Omni at no extra service cost. So yeah, pretty much. So that was the idea behind this card. So this is just a rectangle that has like a white with a little bit of stroke on it, and just the text and every single thing on top of it, like that. So yeah, that's basically what I did here. So the more interesting part is this particular one, which is for monthly goal setting. So just copy the header again, copy title right now, and just paste it on the inside of this guy, and just change this to monthly goals. Okay. Monthly. Now we have a plus. We have a plus and we have a drop down. What this plus means is for a user to add a new monthly goal. Right, this is just showing the monthly goals that they have added in the month and the ones that are currently active. So it's quite simple, right? So we already have the drop down here, so we can easily just copy this guy, right? I'm going here and paste, and just switch this to August, right? And we can just delete this guy. And this, on the other hand, is just like a plus in a circle, right? So you can get, like I said, you can get icons from Iconify, like I showed before. And what I just did to make this design, like to make these two like reasonable or more connected, was to keep the height of the circle the same with the height of the drop down. So let me just auto lay out these guys and do their spacing to let's just say I think 8 pixels, right? And hug them so they stay on the right side. So yeah, so the height of this element or this container is 30, and I kept this guy as fixed, right? Also 30 pixels. This is basically, like I said, this is basically just a plus inside this circle, right? So yeah, that's how I designed that real quick. So yeah, importantly, we want to design this. This is just basically an overview of the number of steps the user has taken, right? So their target is 40k in steps for the month, and they have completed 28,467 steps so far, and they have 9 days left for the month to run out. And this is basically just a text just giving more clarity as to what's happening here. So let's just design this real quick, right? So this is the last card. So very simple, we just draw a circle, right? O on your keyboard for the circle tool, right? Just align this guy, and you see this small arc thing here, you can just like cut across. So there is sweep, there is start, there is sweep, and there is ratio. So sweep is basically like it goes from 0 to 100%. 100% is a full circle, and this is just basically to cut it out, right? Ratio on the other hand is basically like, you know, the width of the circle, right? So from the center here, you can just like go here and just like reduce the ratio, right? Alternatively, you can just type in, if you want to be like more accurate, and just say, okay, give me a ratio of 80%, right? Or give me a ratio of 70%, or give me a ratio of 90%, or let's say 85, right? And for the sweep, let it be directly 80. So now we can just say, okay, I want to start from here, I want to start from 0 or something like this. Just want to drag the sweep to 50% and just rotate this guy like this, right? If you want, you can resize it, align to the center, and if you want, you can just, you know, make it curved, right, by adding corner radius to it. So that's basically how this was designed. So I think I used a 90% ratio here. So this is like a little bit too thick, so let's just make this guy 90, right? So I don't think this really matters anymore. Okay, just say 35. You can always adjust that, so let's just keep it at 50% first, right? As the sweep. So then we just make this guy a lighter version, let's say 500 first. Then we will Ctrl C, Ctrl V this guy, and choose this our color, right? So since I didn't create a style for this, I'll use the color picker tool, or picker, and just pick this color from here, like so, right? So, and now use the sweep. Let's use a sweep of say 35%, right? There we go. And we can also Ctrl C, Ctrl V again, and so I want to review this guy, and we want it to be a green. So we just this color here, right? Just this slight color here, just pick, but we don't want it to be at the top. So let's just make this sweep 40 first, or just a 38. Then now bring it down so it's directly under the bigger one. So sorry, the blue arc rather. So that's how we created that real quick. So this is basically showing the number of steps. If you go to the original design, this is showing the number of steps so far, right? This is the target, and this is just showing the extra step the user has, you know, done today. As you can see here, this small difference here to show that this was what they've done today, or the steps that they've walked today rather. So yeah, so to further complete this design, right, just copy all of this content here so we don't waste too much time. Just control drag. So quite simple. This is basically just a square, an icon for footsteps as in a circle, right? Alternatively, if you want, like I said, you can always add a padding if you want to use auto layout for that, but you don't always have to do that. So yeah, so this is just an illustration to show the number of steps. Align this to the center and just like bring it up here like so. This is showing the number of steps we've climbed. As you can see, I made it a little bit bigger for hierarchy, right? Align to the center as well. Let's see these guys. Yeah, and this is just showing the number of days left. So I want to keep these guys like on the same line here. So like just align. I think I can just make some auto layout and just say, okay, let's make you 8. Align to the center and just like bring it down. Like so. So yeah, that's that. So we can just like bring this a little bit down, say 24 pixels. Right, then just like okay, all of these details now. So this is our body text, right? You're 70% through to your goal, take more steps to stay fit. So just copy this guy and paste, just plain text. Like I said, you can easily format. As you can see here, I just made this guy a little bit bolder. I've explained that before. You can just highlight the text and just easily go to the properties panel for typography and just format, change the color, make it bold or whatever it is you want to do, and there's that. Then for the rest, these are just pretty much basically a breakdown, right, to just show the information for the monthly goals, right? So if I paste, let me see, this is 360, 384. Oh well, the height of this is not exactly the same thing, but it doesn't really matter. So let me just adjust this guy a little bit. Just make that guy 20. One, two, three, 16. Let's do this percentage guy to be 16 as well. There we go. So in case you're wondering how like this was designed, it's quite simple. It's quite simple, right? So just explain that real quick. So yeah, just duplicate this guy. So I explained to you. These are auto layouts. That's not like broken down. Just delete everything here. So this is separator line, like I said, like just a straight line with our 500 stroke for the divider, and these are just like text, right? So you have the text here, targets, and you have the text here, 40k. Just select them, auto layout them, right? Let's say I think I use 8 pixels, so 8 pixels is fine, right? So this is what I like to call a title, and this is the bigger information. As you can see, this is a lot bigger. This is 20 pixels, and this is 14 pixels, and this is like a lot bolder font weight and hierarchy wise, right? So, and these are other separator lines that we used here just to show. This on the other hand is quite simple as well. Just text like this and this as well. So quite simple. This and this. So there are two ways to do this, right? This I use what we call absolute positioning for this guy here, as you can see, right? What this does is it does not disrupt the auto layout. So it's called absolute positioning, or ignore the auto layout. So to be inside the auto layout box, it will not like respond to it. So you can just like easily bring this here, right? That's what I did. Alternatively, you can easily just like have this as an auto layout. Shift A these two guys, make it one group. Then hold this one, also Shift A this guy, make it one group, right? Then there we go. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, so this guy is basically the same thing. Just duplicate. Then I added a separator line inside the auto layout to like I just easily just break it down. So yeah, space between, drag across like so. Then yeah, duplicate the separator line. Press Ctrl V, just bring it to the right side with the arrow key. And that's pretty much what happened there. So yeah. Okay, so I think we're pretty much done with like the major content. So what's left is to work on the navigation at the top. Just reduce this guy to 32. Alright, so yeah, so we have this here, which is the top. In case you're wondering where I got this from the Figma community. So you can just go to Figma, back to files, and go to community and you search. This was the file I got it from. Chrome and Safari. It's basically just Chrome browser mockups that you can just like go and just copy from. So yeah, this was the file I got them from. You can just go to Figma community and you see them. You can yeah, so these are images, or you can just like copy these guys and just like tweak it to your taste, right? Quite simple, quite straightforward. Yeah, you can just copy the browser you want to use, right, and just tweak to your satisfaction. So that's what I did, just to like make the design like look more realistic, pretty much. So yeah. So for the title, it's pretty much the same thing. The title is just quite straightforward. Like as you can see here, content, the logo, the different pages or the different tabs, and the account of the person who signed in, right? So I got the logo from a plugin called Logo Ipsum. So you can just go to plugins, widgets, and just click on Logo Ipsum. You get the logo and just tweak to your taste. It gives you the vector, which is nice. So yeah, just put this together. Health Hub AI, right? So this is it. This is the logo here. Then all of these things are like just the pages, right? So just duplicate them, right? That's it. So I made them a group. Shift A. This is just like a pro tag showing like the pro badge. So this is a text and in an layer that has a padding. So a 4 pixel horizontal padding and a 2 pixel vertical padding. So yeah, and yeah, this is the name of the person who is signed in. So yeah, so pretty much, so this is like the profile of the person who's active. As you can see, it comprises of the person's avatar, you know, the name and the username, and a drop down, which is a chevron. So yeah, so I think that's like the only thing I probably want to design from scratch, so you get to see. So yeah, this is a circle housing the person's name, and most of the time when I do these things, I just try to make sure like it's consistent, right, in terms of the height. So this is a container. As you can see, the height is 35 pixels and this is 36 pixels. So I'm keeping this either the same height of this with the circle or under the circle, and the difference will be too much. So I have text here that this is a 14 pixel text, and it's a 14 point text, I beg your pardon, and a 12 point text for the art name. As you can see, there's a difference in hierarchy because this is my button and this, right, and spacing between these guys is 8 pixels and this one is 16 on the other hand. So yeah, so I'll just like duplicate this so you get to see. It's quite straightforward, if I'm being honest. So duplicate, copy, I just drag across like this. Then yeah, then this is the circle that is 36 in pixels, that houses the person's image. So this is 8 pixels, right? Then the drop down, which is the chevron, which you can just copy like this. Remember, I can get it from Iconify or use an icon library in Figma. Then I can change this to 90 degrees, right? So select this and make this 16, and voila, that's pretty much it. So I want these guys to like be on the same line. So select this, Shift A, switch to auto or space between. Then just come here and I think I'll make this 32 pixels for the horizontal padding. So like it's just 30 pixels away from the edge, and I think I'll use 16 pixels for now. And have a fill of white. And I can add a stroke to the bottom just to segregate it from the background, like so, and make it 500, right? So obviously I'll just increase the width, so let's just be the same width as the frame, 1440 pixels in width, then align to the center like so. And that's pretty much it, right? So we have designed. Oh, we didn't add this guy, so let me just copy the active page and just paste it with this group. Just take it to the right side. Yeah. In case you are wondering what I did, now there are a lot of ways to show, like, active pages and things like that. You notice that there's a small so let me just turn this on. Notice that there's a small line here. It's white. I'm just add a few so you get to see, right? This is just to show, like, when a particular page is active, right? So now obviously if I decide to hide it, right, if I decide to hide it, see how it sort of like affects the layout of this particular tab, right? And obviously there are a lot of ways to do this. You can decide to have the stroke at the bottom of this guy here, like something like this at the bottom, right? You could have maybe as a 2 pixel if you want to, right? 2 pixel stroke. And okay, let's just say, okay, you want it to be this orange, right, which is fine, right? But I didn't want it to go completely across, right? And obviously there's no way I can customize the idea I wanted by using auto layout. So you don't exactly always have to use auto layouts. They are good for resizing and basically things being responsive, but you don't always have to constrain yourselves to them. So what I just did was just to have, like, a stroke here with a defined width and weight. I just kept this directly under everything, and what I did was just to hide the ones that I'm not using. Just keep it in a white, like so, just like I did for the calendar component here, right? These ones, they are there because if I decide to hide them, they will disappear. It will, like, affect the layout of the rest. So I just made them invisible by just keeping them as the same color, keep them the same color as the foreground, which is good practice, right? So yeah, so that's basically what that is all about. Then for the image, there are plugins that you can get avatars from. I use a plugin called Avatars actually. So you go to plugins and widgets and search for avatars, then you just run, right? So when it loads, you can, if you select an active object when it is loading, it will paste an image there in that circle, or whatever object you select. As far as it is an object, right, it will paste it inside that circle, right? So it's taking some time, but it should paste the avatar. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, this is the avatar he pasted for us. You can keep on changing. Control Alt and P will help you change the avatar. Let me just Control C, Control V. This thing finds up now. Control Alt and P makes you run the plugin again, right? So basically, what happens is Figma just runs the plugin again for you. And as far as you have an avatar selected, right, it's just keep on changing. Let's say, for instance, you don't like the way an avatar is looking, or how the face is structured, all of those things. You can just keep on, like, running the plugin, just like that, right? So, and if you don't have any circle selected or any vector selected when you're trying to run the plugin, this is what happens. You just paste a 100 pixel by 100 pixel circle for you inside anywhere, so you can begin to adjust, right? So once you have an object selected like this, and you run the plugin, Command Alt and P on your keyboard, or Control Alt and P, it just sort of like just plugs you in with it. So that's pretty much it, right? So just delete this guy. But yeah, that's it for, like, the top navigation. These are the things I want to show on the product. So ideally, if we didn't have this element here, that is the browser element, this would just be at the top, like so, right? And if we go to Figma Mirror, this is basically what it looks like. And obviously, you want to pin this to the screen when we're, like, scrolling, right? So you can just go to prototype and click on fixed, right? Stay in place. So as we're scrolling, it just stays with us there. I think I noticed that the what's that? let me call this navigation. So top nav. Notice the stroke is at the supposed to be at the bottom. Yeah, it is. Okay, so now we can decide to now like have this guy here. Just copy. Like I said, you can get the browser mockup from the Figma community, right? So just paste. So you can select this to auto layout this to, right? Space between them can be 0, right? And just fixed there at the top. So when we're scrolling, it just stays there, right? So that's pretty much the design. So yeah, so we're missing this copy here, header, body, and our search functionality. So yeah, let's just keep this. Let me group these guys first and constrain you to the bottom, so like I can adjust it with time. So just paste these guys here. I think I kept this at 24 pixels and just like adjust. So yeah, just two. Right, so yeah, can ungroup, and voila, this is our design, right? So yeah, I think these are quite straightforward. I don't think I need to go over this again. This is just like a text. This is just a text. This is another text, header and body, right? And this is just for you to search. So let me just show how this is designed, sure. So just it's simple. We have the text and we have the search icon. So just drag the text out and drag the text icon out, the search icon out as well. Sorry. Then space between these guys, add a padding, let's say 8 and 8 for instance. Make this fill white. I think I added a stroke to the border as well. Sorry, white. And 8. And that's pretty much it. So bring this guy inside here. Can decide to hide this guy. So this is 12 on 12. So now this will be hogged, right? So if we want, since we kept it to be the same with this particular element, so this is 3448 in width, right? So I just come here and type 448, and I'll come here and I'll switch this to, as you can see the spacing here is 22 pixels as specified, right? But the issue now is if we do not click on space between, it will not spread across the entire frame. So just come here, the drop down and press auto, right? Or click auto, or come to align panel and just double click, and to just spread across like so. That's how that search was designed, right? And these, like I said, these are just text. This is the header text that is 22 pixels and semi-bold, and obviously a darker color for hierarchy. And this is the body text, which is a lot smaller and not as important as this. So this is a greeting message. How are you doing? How's your afternoon going, Evelyn? And just like a small helper information there saying work towards your monthly goals or stay hydrated, right? So yeah, guys, so that's how we design this together in Figma. I hope like you were able to learn the important things, mostly like how to structure out the content and the small visual changes I'm just like working on right here. So as always, the file will be like available. So what I'll just do now, just to like walk us through the dark mode design, so we just make progress together. So let me just call this light mode redesign. Okay, so I think I can delete this guy, right? So I'll just like come here, just duplicate, right? Let me call this one dark mode design. Okay, for reference, I want to okay, let me just swap these guys. As if it really matters, but like it's a lot easier for me to reference the light mode. Yeah, so okay. So now the dark mode it won't take as long as it took for the for the light mode. So first things first, like I said, I have a group of shades I use, just these guys, right? Unlike the light where I have like more shades to work with. So I will make this I usually make the darkest color the darkest shade at the background here like this, right? So that's what I usually do. Then I'll leave the title first. Let's begin to like actually tweak the actual design. So let's start from the text here, right? So yeah, so best practice for like designing light and dark, always design light first, because dark mode can be tricky in terms of color selection. Not all colors look really good on dark mode, and because I've saved time in like creating these shades, there are a lot of ways to work with dark mode, right? So this is a black themed dark mode, right? If I go to my dribble, you see some cases where like I use like different colors for a dark mode, right? In this case now, this is actually a dark mode project or a dark mode design, but this is a brown themed dark mode, right? So I don't know if that makes sense. Then yeah, this one on the other hand is like a blue themed dark mode where like the color is like more warm and it's leaning towards like blue as a color, right? So hence like the blue team dark mode name. So yeah, different instances really. So you can build this one. On the other hand, is more of like a green themed dark mode. Right? I built the entire like color shade on like a dark green, and you can see how like the foreground colors are lighter than the background. Just subtle changes here, subtle like visual differences. So this is actually a green tinted dark mode. So yeah, that's basically how you can build like dark mode on almost any color. You can build on purple as well. You can build on blue. The common ones are like blue, that is really dark blue, really black, dark black, like we're going to learn how to do right now, and sometimes purple too. So yeah, so the darkest color is what stays like at the background, like the actual background darkest color, and the text on the other hand are like just like lighter visions. So let's go to the since we're doing dark mode, let me just like sort of like bring these ones closer, bring it to the top here. Yeah, so now this on the other hand is going to be, let's use our permanent white here, and let's use like a lighter version of our gray, and for this guy let us use let's say 800, right? So I have to unlock these guys. So first things first, I'll change the border. Obviously it's still permanent, so I'll just sort of like make it like a little lighter. So just control click on the lines, so I just sort of like change them right to 500. Like so. So I think we can make this guy 100 for instance. Then the stroke around it can be like 500 as well. This can be like a little bit lighter. So yeah. So basically the idea is like, this is just me changing color because I've already like figured out the shade, right? But for anybody who's like trying to like experiment with this, like from the very first time, the goal is to just keep everything on the foreground, right? Keep it lighter than the background. Let me just finish up so you get to really see where I'm coming from, right? So these dots now, obviously, they're too prominent, so I'll just like make them like, a 600 or maybe a 500, right? So same with this guy too. Make this one lighter than the background. So let's say 600. There's 500 to white. Yeah, 600 is fine. So let's go in a bit and just change the stroke to say 500 or maybe 4. And 4 is too prominent, so I'll just leave that. Okay. And if we could probably even add like a stroke to this guy. I don't think we did for like the lighter one, but it's not a bad idea. Just like help with the the contrast with the background. So this too can be say 500, right? This would be a little bit too much, I guess. Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. And I think there's nothing wrong with you like tweaking like appearance value sometimes, because I've been learning code and I noticed sometimes like even when you're coding you can have alpha values for colors where you like tone down like the appearance or the opacity, right? So yeah, so if you feel something is too much, you can always tone that down. Or there's not really like good practice for design, but for code, developers do that. So I don't see why we designers cannot do that. So you say I just turn on the opacity there to 50% for that inner circle. So yeah, and for these guys as well, I can pretty much just change their color as well. So say like this is for just for text. I can keep this at 400. So lighter ones can be 400, darker ones can be 300 or even 200 if you want. So yeah, and this on the other hand too can be like the stroke there can be like 800. That's fine. So you can see ourselves like we just fix this guy up, and if I use Figma mirror, I'll just ignore the white for now. We'll fix that out. You can see how like it looks good, because the idea is keep the foreground lighter than the background, right? So same thing with this guy here. Like the card elements I'm having on top of the background are going to be lighter than, you know, the background. That is, the foreground element will be lighter than the background. So these are the things you just want to like consider when like you're working for, when you're designing for dark mode, right? So yeah, basically doing the same thing for all of these guys too. So just come here, turn the color to the 800, make the stroke the 500, right? Then also like these colors here, come here and change them to 100 as well, or 50, either. Make this guy 50. 50 is right, not bad. So yeah, 100. So stroke would be the 500 of this guy. Then same thing with these guys too. Make these guys like, 700, and everything here. So like you see, like it's a lot of like trial and error, right? But it's not exactly time consuming, because it's not like daunting, because I've sort of already like figured out the shades for the entire colors. So what I'm just doing now is just change the things I've done before. So I'm just trying to like, make everything look more consistent and just tweak. So light mode is where you do the heavy lifting. Like you're brainstorming every single thing. Dark mode is you just switching colors and just checking, make sure everything is very, very accessible. So yeah, just make these guys like a little bit dark. So this one will be more prominent. Make these guys like 200. Oh, make it 100 instead. Yeah, so I can just border out this guy is like too bright, so just like turn it down to 500 too as well. So this is 800, this is 500, and the color on the inside is about 600. So you can add like a little color, little like shade to the inside of this guy. This is 700. So see how clean it looks, right? Like the difference is not a lot. Like we're basically just flipping colors and just keeping a dark theme pretty much. So like I said, the goal is just to keep everything brighter than the background. For me, right, the background is like always the darkest color, the darkest shade, right? So most of the time it's like my 900. Then everything that's coming on top of it is going to be lighter. The modals, the cards, every single thing is going to be lighter than the background. So that's pretty much how I just like wing it and just work on my layout, right? So same thing here. The fill is 800. Remember the background is 900, right? The stroke will be 500. Same thing with this guy. Stroke 500 stroke. Then I'll just copy this guy so I don't like waste time editing. Let's switch to July. So this is 50. So this is going to be 500. I feel like it's a little bit too light though, so I think 400 is too prominent at the same time, so I think we will stick with that. So I'm literally just keeping quiet because like what I'm doing is just like switching the colors, right? Pretty much that's what I'm doing. So yeah, so like you see, I'm trying to be consistent. I'm using the background is 900, right? My foreground is 800. Foreground is basically the color of these cards here, right? And like the stroke I'm using for my border is a consistent 500 stroke, right? So yeah, like I said, like for when it comes to web or to dark mode, like I don't usually like do like more shades. I don't like create more shades like I do for light mode. Just like leverage on just 10 groups to do the magic, as I like to call it. So yeah, so all of this. So back to the monthly goals card, 800 for the foreground color. The stroke is the 500 gray. This guy's staying in white. Right, so just copy this guy. So I don't like stress with editing again. Go to this group and paste. Delete. August. Stroke of this is actually 500, right? So yes, sorry, I added yeah, so hundred. So yeah, so let's do this card now. So fill is 800. Remember, stroke is 500. Yeah, so stroke again is 500. The DM is the style I created for dark mode. So yeah, let's switch this to white, the 50, and this should also be white. And make this guy maybe like 100, 200. Yeah, so this on the other hand can be like 700. So we can change the color to this to be like 100. I can make this a white as well. This guy can be a 100 or a 200 depending. Yeah, so much. So that this is practically our dashboard, right? So okay, just like tweak the top and we're good to go. This will also like be in our 800, right? And all these guys will also be in our 800, so like they blend into the background. Oh, it's just a stroke. Eight hundred. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Change color to 200. Let's just make it 100. So switch this one to 800 as well. Then the selection. Then the stroke at the bottom is 500. So yeah guys, so yeah, this is pretty much our design. in dark mode. So yeah, so like as you can see, okay, not done with the search button yet. So the search input field rather. So yeah, field is 800. Remember, stroke is 500. Right, content on the inside. We just keep them at 100 first, then I'll tweak. So the helper text shouldn't be too prominent, so they just make it like a 300. Right, the search is what goes, and I think I'm okay with that. Or we can just make it a little bit dimmer. No, sorry, wrong shade. 200. Yep, that's good enough. So yeah, this is our dashboard in dark mode. So we pretty much explored everything, right? And just to recap, first is first, except I'm designing primarily for dark mode, I will design dark mode first. But in cases where I have to design for both light and dark, light is best because, like I said, dark mode is selective with colors, right? Not all colors will work with dark mode, especially if maybe you're like working with, let's say, a blue team dark mode, right? Some colors won't just look so nice on it. So the entire idea is to just start very small, right? Start with a feature every single time. Like, do not worry about how everything comes together. And it might look so simple, like how I'm doing it now, because I'm literally just redesigning, right? So, but when I worked on this, it took me quite some time to even figure out how things will come together on the screen. But the goal is start with one component first, right? And just sort of like walk your way through the entire design, right? So when I designed this, I started designing the calendar component, like I said before. And before I like moved to other parts, I moved to the sleep cycle, I moved to the graph, then the top navigation. These things will come on later, right? The goal is to start very small and work your way upwards that way, right? Don't worry about how everything will look like. That is the entire layout, right? Just focus on getting a feature out, right? So start with a feature, not a layout. So light mode first for me, because of how like I always have to constrain myself, because of I have zero constraints, right? Almost everything looks nice on a light color, that is on white or on off-white. So I'm not really like pondering myself on, or I'm not being selective with colors, right? As you can see how that the dark mode took us significantly lesser time than designing the light mode. That's because of we had figured out everything we wanted to put on screen. The difference was just switch the colors, right? And like I said, I don't usually have like a lot of like color groups for dark mode, right? I just have like 10 shades I work with. For light, I generally like to have more control over like my elements. So, but as always, you can always squeeze them into like one group. But this is just the way I work, so you don't always have it. I'm not saying you should work like that, but it's my own way and it works for me. I like having more control over my grades, right? But yeah, I hope you're able to learn something from this exercise. I don't know if my voice went low. I hope my mic was able to pick everything I said along the way. But if you need any clarity or there's an area that doesn't just make sense, and like I said, like towards like I said during the earlier stages of this video, if you want me to make like an auto layout video, like where I really talk about advanced auto layout techniques from the basics to like the ground up, I know that there are existing tutorials that can explain that. But if you want me to break it down for you, how I understand it, how to work with how to basically work with columns and rows, hot content, fill content properties, fixed width or height depending on the scenario, just drop it down in the comments or in the chat there and just let me know. But ideally, this was fun, right? And hopefully, maybe I might just like work on other pages of the dashboard too, right? And this is basically the user's end, right? So I think somebody when I created this form for people to fill, someone talked about how if we're going to see the admin end of the dashboard. So I might just work on the admin end and maybe we'll just redesign it together again, and I'll just post it here on YouTube for you to like just watch and enjoy. But just know that it's a lot of trial and error, right? And the reason why I'm sort of like good at it or great at this is because of I I've figured out like how to lay out content, right? So I start very very small. Like I don't like worry too much about how things look like. My once I get my shades, right? Like and I've created like some shades I work with, and frankly, you'll be able to access them in this file, so you can practice with them, right? Like it just this is just the way I work, and I'm not asking you to like exactly do the same thing, but the entire idea is to just find a way to put out your ideas outside and just allow it to, let it solve a solution for you. So if you don't have a brief, leverage GPT to like just create content like so you can just work with, just like structure it out there and just do your best, right? And if you need me to review, you can just tag me in the comments when you're done designing or something that you just need clarity on. Yeah, I'll drop my social media handles, on there, Twitter, LinkedIn, Telegram. If you want to send me direct message as well, everything you need to reach out. And as always, this file will be on the community for you to inspect and practice with. So yeah, thank you for making our time to watch this video. If you got to the end, I hope you were able to learn a lot from the video, right? Just for dark mode, like I said, it's just you placing everything lighter on screen, right? So dark mode or light mode on the other hand is basically just having darker content on screen, like darker text, darker information, right? Dark mode is just the reverse, right? The background is what is the darkest in my opinion for me, and my foreground, that is the cars, just get lighter, like along the screen, like along the line, just get like a lot lighter, so the foreground cars like you see here, these are what we call foreground. Things on top of the background are called foreground. So the foreground cards, the strokes, the small things here to signify elevation, the text, the relationship with all of these things, to reduce the reduction in like contrast for certain things that are not so important. These things mean a lot at the end of the day, right? So you want to just practice understanding all of these basics, right? So once you get really good with colors, like that's pretty much like the very first step in like getting really good as a good visual designer. So I'm more of a UI person than user experience, but I'm also a UX designer. But I've really spent time learning how to polish my interfaces because they have to be really appealing at the end of the day. So yeah, I hope you've learned a lot, or you learned one or two things from this video. If you did, please just drop a comment in the chat, and please like, share, and as always, please subscribe. We're under 100 subscribers for this channel. I don't post as much. This is just like my second video, frankly, but with time, I hope to share the things I learn. Because when I'm free, I just try to like pour out content there. If it's not like a video, it's like something for the community, or it's an article I write. I do more writing than actual like teaching design, but hopefully I'll work towards like putting out like shorter videos that just explain really really important things that will help you on your journey as a designer. So yeah, thank you for looking through, and I hope you like I said, just learned one or two things from this entire conversation, or this entire like walkthrough. It's been almost 4 hours, right? So as always, like I said, I will drop the breakdown to like the entire like this file to the community, so you can share and check and just inspect the things I did, and just learn on your own, really. So thank you, and this has been Pressman, and it's been a lovely almost 4 hours sharing and teaching. I hope it wasn't too boring. I'm sorry if I don't sound 100%. Like I said, I haven't been feeling too well, and frankly, I have a headache right now. But yeah, I hope to do some other time. I just hope like everything I said was picked by my microphone, and you just followed through, really well. So yeah, thank you, and I hope to do some other time. Bye.